Sportsmanlike with Evan, Canty, and Michelle. Now, mornings 6 to 10 a.m. on LA's mega sports station, 710 ESPN. KSPN Los Angeles, a Good Karma Brands radio station.
And yes, are we ready? Right now on 710, we're taking off with 9 hours of live and local LA Sports Talk.
The home of the 9-hour LA Sports Mega Block.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking.
We call it the LAX, LA Sports Mega Block. Of course, powered every day by LAX, Los Angeles International Airport, where change arrives daily. Let's get to it. Time to get in the air. We're taking off, LA.
You have clearance, Clarence.
Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Travis and Sliwa has clearance right now.
Yeah! I had no idea. Andy was just regaling me with tales of the Brat Pack, which you and I are both fans of, and you're dropping deep Judd Nelson info on me right before 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
this is exciting.
We may get into this over the course of the next 3 hours, but I watched on Hulu, there is a documentary called Brats, directed by Andrew McCarthy, one of the Brats. Yeah, one of the prime members of the Brat Pack,
right.
About the experience of being in the Brat Pack, what it was like for all of these actors to have that thrust upon them, and this narrative that that they were all like really close friends hanging out all the time, which was not accurate, and what it's like, what the effect it had on their career, and now what it's like for them now to be looking back on all this.
And maybe not most importantly, but most importantly to me, apparently there's a Brenda Walsh connection to this entire thing that I was unaware of. So this is very exciting.
Yeah, Judd Nelson was at one point, I'm double checking to make sure I'm
Mr.
correct
Brenda
about,
Walsh?
I believe he and I know they dated. Yeah. I think they were married.
I can't wait to get into it. How you feeling this morning, Andy?
Good.
Roars. How are you feeling, Emily?
I'm feeling fantastic.
You were chipper this morning.
I'm feeling chipper. I had a great night last night. I'm excited for today to be the last day to vote for the Mandy's, and so I have my final pitch.
You gonna make a hard push?
I have my final pitch today. So, do you want it now?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my final pitch: is that I'm here. I'm kidding. But my final pitch is that I can produce any show on this radio. I could fit into any show on this radio station. I can do it almost even better than the producers that do it right now.
Oh,
so,
bold statement.
Today,
Nice.
I'm going to try on a little bit of some of their segments. And we're going to see.
Don't tell Ireland or he'll get in his feelings all over again.
I want you guys to vote on if I can do the segments better than producer Lindsay and producer Greg, then I should be the producer of the year. So that's
you should be the producer of the year regardless. But that is a very good top rope maneuver to just say, I'm just going to. There's an old phrase. Remember the old football coach Bum Phillips?
Yeah.
Wade Phillips' dad. That I forget who he was talking about, but he had a great line that said, he can take his'n and beat your'n, and he can take your'n and beat his'n. Like that's what you are, Emily. You're
anything
the Bum
you can
Phillips.
do, I can do better.
Right. You're the Bum Phillips of radio producers. That you're on this show, you're going to nail it. You're on another show, you're going to nail it more nailed than the other ones.
What you are doing is ultimately you are making the case, Emily, not just on your own terms, but on their terms.
Yes. It is a powerful
I can beat you with your own home stadium.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll go on the road.
Exactly.
You'll go on the road.
I'm Patrick Mahomes.
Right? That you don't need to be Lamar Jackson. You could be Patrick Mahomes.
I will take the booze of the road crowd.
You know what?
I will eventually win them over.
You know what Emily loves is the silence of the road crowd. She savors the silence.
I was just going to do that. Emily does a lot of shh.
I'll check my watch. It's Emily time. It's not as good as Dame time, but
it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah, when you're done with Radio Tinder or whatever, you could tap your watch.
Hey, Parker, can I get a solo shot of Emily doing this? Just please.
Yes,
please. Thank you.
There
we go. I think we got it. Appreciate you.
It's another reason you got to watch us on the YouTube channel. Buenos dias, Jorge. How are you?
It's crunch time, my man. The final stretch here.
Are you good?
Yeah.
You got what do we got? You got 8 days?
Roughly
9 days?
Yeah. But things are getting done. There's some things that are still kind of up in the air that we got to take care of. So I'm hopeful that it's gonna be done on time. But for sure, I'll get it done.
Well, it'll either will or it won't, right? On Saturday night, it's going to be on. A week from Saturday night.
This is my favorite part of the lead up to it because it's like, okay, let me check my list and then what are the changes going to be, and if it's going to be a drastic change. I just love this because it keeps me on my toes.
Here's my request to all of the listeners, Andy. If you have voted good, go vote again. If you haven't voted, go vote and vote for Emily to win the Producer of the Year. And then vote for me for everything else.
Everything else.
Man of the People, Personality of the Year, Most Hated. Are you nominated for Most Hated?
I believe I was not.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm in the classics, but I think Chris did mention that I was not mentioned in Most Hated.
I think my goal for next year is to become so hated that I also become the most hated. I'm going to heel turn it on y'all, and then I'm going to take that one too next year.
Is the roast
Emily Heelable?
Is the
That's good.
Excellent.
It rolls off the tongue.
Excellent. Is the roast completed?
Brian and I are still going through drafts right now. We've had this very strict directive. Got to keep it under like 6-7 minutes. Can't take away any stage time from Morales. God knows he's not on stage long enough. Want to make sure he doesn't miss his moment.
The funny thing is he would peek through the curtain to see if you guys are still on.
You know what they need is one of those old vaudeville hooks where they just got to go from the side and...
For him or for us?
Both. We'll have two.
I mean, you got to remember, every second that Brian and I are on stage is a second that Chris isn't.
It's a good point.
It's unacceptable.
Well, I think we know where the edict is coming from.
Oh?
Go on.
Yeah, we've been going through some drafts. I think we've got some pretty solid material. It's difficult because we would love to throw a barb at everyone, but time crunch.
Well, last year, and I'm not telling you how to do your job. I thought you guys did a great job last year, but I feel like I get abused enough for being old by the person I spend every single day with in Emily Heelable. I don't know if I need it from you and your brother on stage on Saturday.
Well, I will.
He's just going to call me up.
Exactly.
Well, this can be part of Emily's inevitable acceptance speech.
Yes, indeed.
How much joy it brings her Monday through Friday to work with the elderly.
Well, perhaps that's where her deep-rooted contempt for the elderly began.
Don't have contempt for the elderly. I just want to put that out there. But if anyone's listening for the first time.
The early draft that we're in right now of material, I would say what we have about you, it is not all about you being old.
Okay.
But it's not none. Without giving away too much.
Yeah.
You are lumped in with some older people. It is not singularly about you being old.
I see. All right. Well, I'm going to get what I'm going to get, right?
Also, quick update. Judd Nelson and Shannon Doherty dated. Never married.
Okay. I still like that. That's like any sort of 90210 adjacent news that I am unaware of is always something that I'm happy to consume. That's good. Hulu, you said it.
Bratz.
Bratz.
If you are of...
Not BRATZ. Not to confuse.
Those are those weird dolls, right?
That's like the anti-Barbie. It's like the more metropolitan Barbie is Bratz.
Why are you laughing, Jorge?
Because when you asked me, hey, you about the Bratz, the dolls?
Oh, exactly.
I mean, that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Really?
Yeah.
Like those... my daughter Kelly was never really a doll girl. Like she didn't play with dolls. That was really never her jam.
She's too cool.
No, she just didn't do it. If I had to guess, and this is where look, Andy, you'll appreciate this. Jorge, you appreciate this, and Em, you will one day appreciate this. You can only push your kid in so many directions. You have, believe it or not, very little influence on how they're going to turn out. But there are a few things that you can try to shape and mold along the way. They come out of the package pre-wired. They're going to be who they're going to be, right? And you can get little nudges and pushes along the way. I think one of those little nudges, Susan was not a doll person. So I think that she probably imprinted the...
Just didn't buy dolls.
We don't need to do that. Like, not even like actively encourage against it, but rather they just weren't there. That wasn't something that was put in front of her from a young age.
It was interesting. My daughter had Barbies, but she never treated them as Barbies. She would just treat them as her friends. And I remember she'd be in the bathtub by herself and she would be recreating or creating these conversations between her and her preschool friends. But I don't think she ever treated any of her Barbies as an actual Barbie. Like, I don't think she ever called any of them
She's
Barbie.
like basically workshopping future play scenes,
Yes.
right? She's a future playwright, and she's like, well, what if we stage them entering from this side of the room? They're just props in her mind.
Long running.
Oh no, I get asked, hey, can you record me playing with and then she'll make the voices for Ken and Barbie, whatever.
Yep.
She's like, they're going on a date and they arrive in the car. She's like, can you get record? You know, it's the whole.
I love
process.
it.
Yeah.
Emily, were you a doll kid?
I was a big Bratz girl. I had all the Bratz. Sasha was my favorite. It's okay. So also, if you watch the Barbie movie, it's kind of a
Do the Bratz make an appearance?
Kind of.
Okay.
So Barbie goes to a school to go meet this girl that she thinks she's coming to the real world to be her doll. So she goes to this school. She's like, oh, this is the girl that owns me. And so she goes up to this table, and it's Sasha, and I can't remember the other two names, but they are like the names of the Bratz dolls, and they look like the Bratz dolls, and they just eviscerate Barbie. They call her a fascist and like all that stuff. And she's like, I don't control the railways or the flow of commerce. So that was little Bratz illusion in Barbie.
Go vote for the Mandy's. You got it's your last chance to do that. Emily was telling she's in a good mood today, and it's I can always tell by my initial exchange with her. And today she calls me into her office and talked about we had a conversation about a movie that she saw last night, and then we've kind of gone into another things where we got a little bit of a psychoanalysis from her earlier that I want to get into in a little bit. The Lakers don't have a coach. Dan Hurley is talking, and I think there's a lot of really good information as to why Dan Hurley is no longer the coach. And I'll be honest, I've changed my mind a little bit on why I don't think that he's here. That's coming up next. It's Travis Slee. Andy's in for Slee on 710 ESPN.
Mandy
Times there's been conspiracies that the vote is rigged. Not so fast, sucker. Only 3 people at the radio station know how the vote goes, and one other guy who makes the trophies. Your vote counts. Vote now at ESPNLA.com. And by the way, tickets to the Mandy's $25 seats now available. The non-deluxe tickets, but you're still going to get in the door. All of that for Mandy's 3 at ESPNLA.com. Right now, the Mid-Morning Spectacular Travis and Sliwa Show continues for a Friday on 710.
Are you ready for it?
I'm in my reputation era. I am ready to come for all of you. I'm ready to take home the award for my work here.
You want the hardware.
Yeah, exactly. And, maybe I did something bad, but who cares? Like Taylor Swift's song. But you were saying that you saw...
Well, it was...
Psychoanalysis?
I don't know how long ago this was. It was a while ago. It was at least a couple years ago.
Okay.
And I'm fairly certain you were here for this, but not 100% certain.
Okay.
When I had the dream about Marcus Morris...
I was here.
Okay.
Which was it, Marcus or Marquise?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
But I had a dream that they told me I was getting a new co-host, and it was one of the Morris brothers. I forget which one. And I was like, well, can I at least talk to him before we do the show? They're like, no, he'll be here tomorrow, and you guys are doing the show together. I'm like, oh, okay. It was a very unsettling feeling to have such little control in a situation that, I had been in many times. If you do this, it changes over pretty quick along the way. And I think it was probably the result of some sort of uncertainty in my life that maybe it was work, maybe it manifested in a different way. And Emily, you had a similar experience?
Yeah, and maybe this has to do with me not having won a Mandy for Producer of the Year yet. And maybe
Not
I'm
yet.
like, my time is coming, my time's ticking. Maybe you guys are going to replace me with somebody. But I had a dream last night that, and again, I've never met this person in my life, so I'm sorry to you if I'm besmirching your name in any way, shape, or form. But I had a dream last night that you sat me down in my office.
You, me being you?
You, Travis, sat me down in my office and said, "Hey, Emily, I'm sorry. It kind of came down to 2 people, but we're going to replace you with Dan Wojcicki on your show. He's going to be the new producer. He really wants to get into radio, and he's already in radio. But
Dan Wojcicki, who covers the Lakers for the LA Times.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, yeah, he really wants to work with ESPN Los Angeles, and we couldn't pass up the offer to work with him. And I'm really sorry about this, but you're going to be demoted to, a different position. You're still going to stay with ESPN.
Oh, so you still got to stay here, but you were no longer on.
But I got usurped by Dan Wojcicki, and so.
Have you ever spoken to Dan?
I've never spoken to Dan. I may read his articles.
I was going to say, are you a regular reader of his content?
I read his content when it's out there, and then I think mostly because I saw a tweet that mentioned something he wrote almost right before I went to bed, and so maybe I was like spinning in my head about Lakers stuff before I counted sheep, but I don't really know what it was about.
In your dream, what were your feelings towards me when I told you this news?
I was like, really, Travis? You're the one? You're et tu brute? Like,
right.
You're the person that did this to me?
Dan Wojcicki has 3 Mandys, Emily. At some point, you have to go with the guy with more hardware.
Exactly.
I don't know Dan well. I've spoken to Dan a few times, but I would certainly not call him a friend of mine. He's an acquaintance that I've talked to once or twice, mostly at Hollywood Park Casino after Rams games, where he will show up periodically, and we'll have a brief conversation.
But I'm not even there because I'm from the studio. I'm not even in Hollywood Park.
Have you informed Dan of his impending? Is it a promotion for Dan? Probably. It sounds like a demotion for Dan.
Hey, it's not a demotion.
No. I just that he wasn't even applying for it, and we're like just moving him to another place. Well, usually you get to do
Emily,
that.
did he specify in your dream that he has to give up his job with the Times?
No,
it's
an addition.
An additional assignment.
Right.
Yeah.
So in other words, this is really a step up in Dan Wojcicki's life because in addition to the plum gig of covering the Lakers, the biggest team in Los Angeles for the biggest paper in Los Angeles, he is now producing Travis and Sliwa. Like, there's a lot going on. I mean, things are really looking up for Dan Wojcicki.
See, this, I would have never made this decision because he's, those are 2 important jobs, and we're only going to get half of his attention.
What are you saying, Dan can't handle it?
I'm saying that I need a full-time producer, not a part-time radio producer, part-time newspaper reporter.
What does it say about Emily that you eventually relented and said, you know what, Dan, I want you bad enough. You can stay the beat writer for the Lakers, and I'm going to hire you on. Like, I think you're that much better than Emily.
But basically, you're going to ask me to do a lot more work for the same amount of stuff.
You know what the biggest flaw in look, dreams do not make sense hardly ever, but you know what the real breakdown in this entire thing is, right?
What?
These are decisions that I have nothing to do with.
But the thing is, you were the messenger. You weren't the decision maker. You were
I was the Grim Reaper in this situation.
You what was happening, and that was the situation.
Even if I had, I don't
quit.
Yeah, well, I think that
maybe
that's a topic for another day.
And maybe this was the reason was because I read this tweet that quoted Dan Wicke, and it says that some members of the Lakers don't think it's an absolute necessity to have a coach in place by the NBA draft. He says that, quote, while having a coach in place by the draft is ideal, it's not viewed as an absolute necessity by some inside the Lakers organization. The team is facing major decisions this summer with its roster beginning on draft night when the team could combine the number 17 pick with the first rounders in 2029 and 2031 in the trade.
Okay, so with that reporting in mind, the phrase absolute necessity, I think, is the key phrase. Of course they can.
They will be allowed to draft.
Right.
There's no rule that says the league will not allow you the 17th pick if you don't have a coach.
Sorry, we're going from 16 to 18 due to the fact that the Lakers have not hired a coach. They can,
right.
But it just seems like one of those things that you probably should.
Right. I mean, you can do things that are a terrible idea. Right. You just shouldn't.
Right.
But you can.
Yeah, you can walk in traffic on the freeway. You shouldn't.
But you can.
Okay, with that in mind, whenever I hear stuff like this, it feels like somebody on the inside is saying that they, at least there's the possibility that they'd simply, they're not as close on any of these candidates that we've talked about as maybe they like. Maybe they don't like these candidates as much as might have been previously considered, or they just are lost. They're adrift. They're at sea, and I don't even know where to turn. And the idea of being nowhere to somewhere where the draft is next, is it next week?
It is.
Or 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I think.
I believe it is the 26th, so like a week and a half.
Yeah, okay, so the 26th, so we got, what's that, 12 days away.
I believe that is the day, and then free agency begins the 30th.
If I have no idea who that's going to be right now, like, look, if I go, it's one of these two guys. I know they both want it. We just got to pick one we want. Then this probably doesn't get thrown out there.
Okay, there's a third explanation for the idea that, leaking the idea that it's not mandatory to have a coach in place, like absolutely necessary ahead of the draft, ahead of free agency, whatever. It could be the idea that you're just trying to prevent J.J. Redick, James Borrego, whoever, from being able to leverage the calendar against you in negotiations. It's just not very plausible because it makes you in the process look really laissez-faire.
Yeah.
And look really too casual about something important. Like, yes, if the Lakers want to play hardball with Redick or Borrego or whoever, they can stretch this thing all the way to early October if they want to. It's just an awful idea. Like, functional organizations have a coach in place before the draft and before free agency because it matters.
Darvin Ham was fired on May 3rd. Okay, it's June 14th. So we're talking 6 weeks, 7 weeks. It's a long time.
Well, put it this way.
That's a long time. And I understand that Dan Hurley was, whether he was from what was I to say, May 3rd, maybe May 4th, he wasn't the guy. Okay, we're zeroing in on that. Maybe it took a little bit more time than that, but clearly he was the priority. He was the one that they pursued most aggressively, most publicly, and it didn't work out.
He's the only one that got offered a contract.
Right. And, okay, fine. I've mentioned this before. I have friends that are in athletic administration business that have been athletic directors at big places, and they all talk about, they got a list in a drawer of the three people they're going to be their first three calls in the event that the football coach shows up one day and says, oh, by the way, I'm leaving. I'm going over here. So they don't get caught flat-footed. If you're moving on from Darvin Ham, and again, this was not something that was, you didn't wake up on May 2nd with the idea to fire him. This has been in the works. You would think the second, I think we're going to have to replace this guy, you simultaneously start thinking about who you're going to replace them with. And yet here we are a month and change after the decision to fire him. And maybe it's Redick and he's preoccupied and you can't quite get to him now. But the timing of it all is long and drawn out. And now two very important dates, draft, free agency, are right in front of you.
This is with Redick in particular, this is something that's frustrating for me and something I've talked about a lot on Locked On Lakers podcast, available 5 days a week, part of the Locked On Network. Anywhere you get
I've heard
podcasts,
they do great work.
They do great work in part because they never put their shows behind a paywall.
Yeah, but
any of them.
What about, like, I don't know about you, but I like to look at my podcast while I watch. I'm visually oriented, yes. What would you say to that?
I would just say go to the show on YouTube. Like
there's a YouTube component.
There's a YouTube component. All of their shows are on YouTube. If JJ Redick has been linked to the Lakers since the beginning of this search.
Yes.
And I cannot speak with 100% certainty on this, but there has been a very prevalent narrative that I don't know what I'm hearing.
I don't either. I'm not hearing anything.
Okay. There's been a very prevalent narrative that one of the things that has gotten...
Take your headset off.
Okay.
There you go. We'll figure it out in a second.
It's gotten in the way of just hiring...
Now I can hear it through your headset way over there.
That is weird. One of the things that's gotten in the way of just hiring JJ Redick is that he is calling the playoffs for ESPN. He's currently part of the finals, and whether because the league doesn't want the Lakers coach hiring overshadowing the finals somehow, whether ESPN is concerned that they will lose JJ Redick because hiring him means he has to go the Doc Rivers route, leave his job with ESPN, whether there are concerns about tampering because he happens to mention, oh, wow, great basket by Jason Tatum.
Right.
Like somehow that becomes... This was a situation where, to me at least, and maybe this happened and they got nowhere, but if you're the Lakers, you say, look, guys, we've been a great league partner. We have always been one of the teams that, beyond being a Tiffany franchise, we have always been great with our league partners.
Yes.
The league wanted us to hang the IST banner. We didn't want to.
Yes.
Our fans didn't want to.
That's a great example.
Other fan bases mocked us.
It's a great
We did it
example.
anyway. This is a situation where we need you to help us out. Because think about this. If they had hired Redick like 2 weeks ago, it's not a story anymore. Like, the way to keep this a story that draws focus from the finals is keep it open. That it's still an open question. That's how it actually overshadows the finals. Like, they could have had this thing put to bed. I refuse to believe that JJ Redick could not be the Lakers' next coach while doing this job. Like, I mean, it's work. We've all had periods in our life where you're slammed at work for a couple months. You can make this work. Like JJ Redick, he figured out the whole analyst thing pretty quick. I have a feeling he could handle juggling both of these things for a month and a half.
So the question is, if it's Redick or whoever it is it going to come down to terms? Because it did sound like it came down to terms with Dan Hurley. That's coming up next. It's Travis Slee, and he's in for Slee on 710 ESPN. Next Gen, it's hot. It's official. It's summer. It's here, and it's hot outside, which means your air conditioning needs to be running at its absolute best. So if you've got anything going on with your air conditioning, with your plumbing, Next Gen is the place to call. 833-3-NEXT-GEN. That's 833-3-NEXGEN. Tell you a quick story. I had a water heater issue. I think Emily saw the water drain, or the blood drain out of my face, the way the water was draining out of my water heater. I called Next Gen and I said, hey, I'm having a problem. Can you help me? They called me right back. They get a technician out to the house. I mean, within a couple of hours. And the only reason it took that long is because I was still at work and had to get down there. They knew exactly what they're talking about. They gave me all the information. The guy was incredibly courteous and informed and just the most buttoned up guy in the world. So if that's what you're looking for, that's the call. 833-3-NEXT-GEN. That's 833-3-NEXGEN. The next time you have heat, AC, plumbing issues, 833-3-NEXT-GEN, or you can go online at nextgenairandplumbing.com.
Simple.
Have the voices in your head gone away, Andy? Or have you stopped hearing things? Like you're looking at me like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm fine.
Yet another reason Jorge should win a Mandy next Saturday.
3P, baby.
He exercised the vocal demons. He came in here, twisted a few knobs, pressed a few buttons. They're gone.
This is in no way to impugn your technical ability, Jorge. Right. Okay, understand that I say this not to try to throw shade at all, but just I'm asking a question for my own education. It just looked like you turned it on and turned it back off again.
Yeah, so we have this control in there.
He rebooted the system.
Basically.
So there was a light as soon as I clicked that button, a certain light came off, and that's from a Comrex. I guess I was connected to a Comrex. So whatever that was, I guess those voices were coming from that. So you shouldn't be hearing them anymore.
Oh,
I do not.
Sure. The voices were coming from that.
Yeah. Nobody else heard them.
The weird thing is they were Dan Wojcicki's voice. That was really weird.
How often do you have a dream about work?
Oh, I would say at least once a week.
That often?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm also a very light sleeper, so I tend to remember a lot of dreams.
Okay.
Like, I think a lot of us don't remember our actual dreams, or
I only remember the terrible ones.
You remember them for like 30 seconds, and then they fade pretty immediately.
Yeah.
But I would say probably something work-ish related. Remember, too, like, I have like 4 or 5 different
You got a lot
things.
of irons in the fire.
Right. Like, I have a lot of work-related things going on, so that's a lot of different stuff coming at me.
Was this work dream you had where I replaced you with Dan Wojcicki? Right, not that specific part, but do you have work dreams regularly?
I used to have a lot more when I used to, work different hours, and I used to be a little more stressed about work. I mean, not that I'm not stressed about work, but I used to think about work 24/7. Now I have a little bit of a life. So it used to be more common earlier in my career, and now it has not happened quite as often.
What about you, Jorge?
Oh, a lot. One of my recent ones, it was you at my place, and you have a headache, you're looking for pills, and then I give you a thing of pills, and then you're like, no, I can't take that from you, man. Like, it was weird.
What did you give me?
I don't know. It was something for your headache. And you're like, yeah. You looked at the label, and you were like, no, I can't do this. I've had dreams where Emily's mad because we didn't get certain things.
So here's the energy that Emily and I are putting out into the universe. I'm a drug addict, and Emily is difficult to be around.
A drug addict who will replace Emily at the drop of a hat.
I've had dreams of Slee not being able to connect from his compound.
That could happen any day.
And then the one that wakes me up a lot is the fact that I might be running late, or me waking up late, and I wake up fast and rushing, trying to find my phone to see what time it is.
That's the one that I have the most frequently. And I don't have a ton of work dreams. I have a lot more about like family and my mom and dad, my wife, my kids, my grandparents. Like I have a lot of family things and that pop up. But when it does work, it's always I was supposed to be somewhere and I'm not going to get there on time, and it's a big deal that I'm not. Yeah, always.
My loss of control dreams are rarely anything work related. They're always I start out, I'm in a car and I'm driving the car, and then all of a sudden my POV is basically like a 10,000 foot in the air drone POV where I am still technically driving this car, but I'm clearly not steering it. And I feel out of control where the car is going. Like that happens to me all the time.
Not with the POV part, but I've had that. I'm in a car and I'm supposed to drive, but the car's not responding the way I need it to. That it doesn't turn the way I need it to. It doesn't stop. Doesn't speed.
If you have recurring dreams,
we need a psychiatrist
that are less
on this.
Serious, that are not super crazy. Send them in to us on Twitter or call in at 877-710-3776. Any stupid recurring dream that you have.
Especially if it involves an LA Times reporter or a member of the LA Clippers.
Oh, like Helene or Bill Plaschke. Like, send them in.
I had this Helene Elliott dream where she was telling me about the Stanley Cup final, and I couldn't let it go.
Shout out to Helene for her retirement.
I know. She was on it forever.
Yes, she was.
She's,
really, really nice.
One of the great Twitter handles of all time, too.
Yep.
It's Helene, not Helen. Mm-hmm. At It's Helene, not Helen is just one of the best of all time. All right. Dan Hurley is talking, and he's saying a lot, and you and I were texting a little bit yesterday afternoon, Andy, that the full context of the Dan Le Batard interview, I think, is super important because he was complimentary to the Lakers and specifically to Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss in a way that to me felt A, sincere, and B, above and beyond the normal. It was very nice to meet them and they run a great shop.
Yeah.
It felt the next step beyond that.
He kept specifically mentioning Rob and Jeannie.
Yes.
In ways that if he's looking to be just politically correct and not wanting to trash an organization because you never know who's listening, you never know who you might have to go back to, whatever, you could be broadly complimentary about them.
Yes.
But without ever going specific. He was very specifically complimentary of Jeannie and Rob that made me feel like the pitch that they gave him, he was impressed by what he saw. He was impressed by them. Like, the situation itself was not why he said no. And look, maybe he was just very convincing with all this or whatever, but he didn't have to say any of this.
Well, look, I love to try to read between the lines. It's one of my favorite things to do is to try to figure out, okay, what does that actually mean? Because I think we all speak in code at times, especially when it comes down to things like work and money and things like that. So when he was saying all of those things, it resonated with me in a very genuine way. And so the next part you jump to is, okay, if it wasn't that, if it wasn't he got, the proverbial look under the hood and said, oh boy, no, heck no, I want no part of that, then why? And the more he talked about it, the why is becoming more and more, I think, obvious is terms, money, the length, let's just play it again, because this was him with Le Batard yesterday talking about why, and Emily, this green one here is about the money, yes? Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is him talking about if there was a number that they could have gotten to that would have made him
point blank. Was there a number that could lead you to leave UConn?
I mean, really wild. Just a wild couple of weeks. I think when you get to June, you have the team on campus, the roster set. Alex returns, and then this dropped.
All right.
So.
Okay, I hit the wrong one. And hit the right one for me, please.
Is there an amount of money, Dan? Is there an amount of money that they could have offered that would have changed the decision?
Yeah, I think to leave there probably is, to leave a place at any moment in your life. I think that, like, to say that it's not a motivating factor, the finances to leave a place is definitely a thing. To stay at a place, I don't think it's ever going to be a thing. Like to stay somewhere like UConn, it would never have been, I think, a financial thing. Like, again, this wasn't like some pressure tactic to make me the highest paid college coach. Like that was already done. But to leave a place, that you feel the way we do, and the family connection with my wife, my sons, my mother-in-law, my brother, my father, who I know how much it means to my dad to go to the Big East tournament and to come to, 10 UConn games a year at home and sitting courtside when I'm coaching against Rick Pitino, to leave all that behind, there probably is a number. I don't know what that is.
Okay. I don't know what that is, I think, incredibly important to this, because it clearly wasn't 6 years, $70 million. That number and length was wrong, or one or both, because I think we're on the same page here, Andy. His interest in the job seemed genuine. I don't think you get your wife on a plane with you to fly across the country to just say, let's at least go take a look. I think you at least have to be open to the possibility of saying yes. This
particularly your wife, that it's become very clear, would prefer you stay at UConn.
Clearly.
You don't want to aggravate your wife over a ruse.
Right. And that's the other part. This idea that he used the Lakers to leverage. Guys, he's a two-time national championship winning basketball coach at the place. He doesn't need more leverage to get a new deal from UConn or to get the most money as a college. He's got leverage.
He talked about how, he would like a little bit more resources for his staff and for some other stuff, but he's in a good situation. UConn does not want to deal with the fallout of him leaving over money.
Of course not. So it comes down to whether or not it was you were comfortable enough to let him walk out of the building without having it done. And that's where I think it's super interesting for Hurley, and I think it's super interesting for whoever the next person to walk into the building is, right? Because they obviously wanted him. He obviously had interest, and to turn his head all the way to the, you know what, we're going to do this, had to be a, what do you want? Well, I would like XYZ. Great, here's the pen. And would it be responsible? Maybe not. Would it be above and beyond what, if he signed a deal that was more lucrative than Eric Spoelstra's or Greg Popovich's or Steve Kerr's, then it would be like, wait, this guy's never coached him. It would be, the eyebrows would go up, but it would also signal, we believe in this guy. He's our guy. We wanted him. He's the guy for the job. And you know what? We have to pay a little premium to get it done. We're okay with that.
It's also them recognizing this is what it's going to take to get him. And if you're going to bother doing this in the first place, you have to go all the way. Like, I'll be honest, like 6-70 in a vacuum is a nice offer.
Sixth best in the league.
Right. That is a nice offer. I don't get the impression at all that Dan Hurley was insulted by it.
No.
But if the Lakers had reached out to me ahead of this and said, do you think 6 years, $70 million will be enough to get it done? I would have said no. And I wouldn't have hesitated. Like, that does not strike me as enough to get this done. So the glass half empty version of this whole thing was, I think the Lakers did not truly think through everything necessary in order to go after Dan Hurley. If you're going to try to pry away a guy that is in a really good situation, there's no pressing reason to leave. Glass half full version is maybe they didn't get it all the way to the 1 yard, past the 1 yard line into the end zone, but he liked a lot of what he saw. And given all of the general concern about the Lakers over broadly the last 10 or so years and a lot of swirling instability, it is reassuring to hear that Dan Hurley seemed to like what was put in front of him.
So what gets put in front of the next guy? That's coming up at 11 o'clock, but coming up next, Ask AK. That's next. Travis Slee, Andy's in for Slee on 710 ESPN.
You never have to
in Ireland.
On 710 ESPN.
Home ownership.
Live from LA Live. Travis and Sliwa on 710 ESPN.
You know what it's time for?
What is this?
It's time for Wheel of Questions. Are you ready with that wheel? Hit it, Jack.
I think I found a good one.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah, I think this is a good one.
You're leading into this, aren't you?
Yeah.
I like this.
I'm just trying on all the different things that producers do. I know Mason typically leads this segment, but sometimes the producers do. So I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
All right, so this is my first question. So, what fictional character... Oh, also, I got this from today's show. They have 101 questions that you should ask on a date to kind of get to know this person. Obviously, you're not going to get to 101 questions in one date. That's too many questions. But what fictional character do you all believe, do you guys wish was real?
Superman.
And why?
Because he could save me if I get snatched. Look, it all comes back to my fear of being grabbed off the street by...
What if Superman snatches you?
Well, then I'm dead. Then that's it. If Superman decides to be the one, unless I have a chunk of kryptonite in my pocket, he's going to get me. So I want Superman to be real to protect me from a snatching.
A chunk of kryptonite in your pocket?
I'm surprised you didn't choose a little bit of like a Jennifer Connelly role. Or anything?
Well, Jennifer Connelly is very real.
Right, but
yeah.
what if a specific character of hers that you want to be...
Penny Benjamin from Top Gun Maverick is, and maybe it's just because it's most recent of mine, because I've enjoyed her work in just about everything she's done, but I like the Penny Benjamin character a great. She owns a bar, she's got a convertible and a sailboat, and she seems up for an adventure.
Okay. All right, Andy.
Jeez. This is a tough one off the top of my head. Okay, when I was younger, a fictional character that was like my idol was Ferris Bueller. Because Ferris Bueller could always find the fun. Ferris Bueller always had every situation wired.
Always seemed very calm in the face of like something happening.
But Ferris Bueller was also very introspective. Like if you watch Ferris Bueller, there's a lot of life advice being doled out. Like when he goes on this epic ditch day, he recognizes like, okay, this is the last one I can pull off, so I am doing everything. I am going to make sure this is worth my while. Otherwise, it's not worth risking getting busted in the first place. Is he using his friend? Yes, he is using Cameron, but he also cares about Cameron. In the end, he does actually care about him, even if he uses him. He seems like he is a good boyfriend to Sloane Peterson.
I was going to say, did Sloane Peterson just disappear?
Mia Sara did not work much after her.
Yeah.
She was I remember her being in a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Oh, okay.
Might have been Time Cop.
Oh, really?
What a name for a movie.
Are you unfamiliar with Time Cop?
I've never heard of that.
Oh, my, yeah.
I'm going to look this up now. I think she's in Time Cop.
What's the plot of Time Cop? I
Exactly
really
what you think it is.
It's a cop that manipulates time to arrest bad guys.
There you go.
Okay.
That's Time
Don't
Cop.
overthink it. Yes, Mia Sara was in Time Cop, the synopsis of Time Cop. A police officer in 1994, played by Van Damme, and later a U.S. Fed in 2004 when time travel is made possible. The plot involves stealing gold bullion and such.
Didn't there Stallone make a movie where he would go back and arrest you before you committed the crime?
Judge Dredd?
Judge Dredd.
I need to see these movies. They honestly sound like they're fire.
Judge Dredd, and so here's the thing. The thing I remember
There's
most.
also Demolition Man, where he's a cop in the future.
Demolition Man's good. Judge Dredd, the costuming was done by Armani, and they wear like these futuristic cop uniforms where they look like pursers on the Love Boat. It's amazing.
Love Boat.
Love Boat. Again,
see, you can
show.
do all these shows, Emily.
Yeah, roars. What do they say? Good afternoon. All right, Jorge, what about you?
So this is easy for me. Marty McFly.
Oh.
We get in that time machine and
go. Well, wouldn't you want Doc so you can make the time machine?
I mean, Doc is part of it, right? I mean,
you only get one.
Okay,
she's just busting your chops because you took Hook.
Yeah, I know
this all goes back to that.
She is. Now, you know what? I want Peter. No, I'm just playing Peter Pan. No, I want Marty McFly just simply because, I don't know. I think
Marty McFly gets to marry Elizabeth Shue. That's pretty good.
But without Doc, he's just a teenager instead of someone that's
specific. I'm
befriending an elderly man.
When he
in the time machine.
In the time machine, and that pick me up, Marty. And then we'll go from there.
Okay.
What
again,
about you?
Time machine wouldn't exist without Doc. But
what about you? She's not going to let you go. She's going to talk last. Or
okay, so I think my fictional character that I would wish that existed would be Bruce Wayne, because I want to believe that a billionaire rich person could actually do good things in the community and that actually protect and save people as opposed to doing everything to help themselves. So Bruce Wayne is mine.
For just the opposite would be.
It's really hard to think about anybody else who's a rich billionaire that doesn't do good work in society.
You know what? By the way, it really speaks to what you're talking about, because even with picking Bruce Wayne, he's a sociopath in his own right. Like he's a vigilante.
He's a vigilante, but he's only fighting the bad guys.
He's taking out the right people, Andy.
He's a vigilante.
We think are bad guys.
Yeah, he's a vigilante with a heart of gold.
He donates to the ballet.
He supports the arts, and he only kills bad guys.
He kills bad guys. He helps the cops. Okay,
and
maybe
he's very nice to Alfred. He's unlike Emily. He supports the elderly.
Yeah, exactly. So that is our time with the Wheel of Questions.
That was a good edition of Ask AK right there. I like that you're stealing everybody's stuff. That's what we do here on the Trav and Slee
Not
show.
stealing, doing better.
We are improving. We are
providing a model for the other shows to learn from.
They see we got a little hand right there. Absolutely.
Future loser of producer of the year.
Exactly. You should make sure that you put it in your office, M, so he has to see it every single
Emily
day.
Heelbull.
Emily Heelbull. Back to the Lakers and the terms and what the next guy should and might expect. That's coming up next. It's Trav and Slee. Andy's in for Slee on 710 ESPN.
The black and gold hit
So Emily had a dream that and it's not even we, that I told her that she was no longer the producer of the show and that we hired LA Times reporter Dan Weike to replace her. And then we got into the dreams that we have recurringly. And this, since we're talking openly about things, I mentioned this to you yesterday, Andy, that I'm meeting with one of my youngest son's friends this afternoon to talk about. He's going to go to school, and he wants to at least potentially get into what we do. And I was asking you, how honest do you get? And we had that conversation. But it got me to thinking about if I didn't do this, what I could do. And the answer I keep landing at is not much. And because like this job is simply thinking that your opinion is important when, whatever, right? We've all got them. It's just a matter of whether or not you're going to do it. What could you, I know you wanted to act for a while. You've gotten into media, but like if you had to have a real job, so to speak, where you had to do a thing every day, what would it be?
Here's the problem. Like, I think I could have been qualified to do other stuff, but the problem is when you spend so much time in one space, as specific as this one, you become like Liam Neeson in Taken, like I have a very specific set of skills, except those skills translate nowhere else. Nowhere else. Like, when I think about my resume, I think my resume is both impressive and what the F, man. Like, I don't know what to do
exactly
with this.
Right. Like to a very small select group of people, that's like, wow, there'd been a lot of, but if you put that in front of like a person, they'd be like, dude, you don't know how to do anything.
Like I've done a fair amount of freelance copywriting and like ideation for creative agencies and stuff like that. And they've largely been in the sports space. Like they do stuff for different teams or stuff like that. And I think when I've done it, I've done good work. But I'm not going to lie, it took some selling on my part to convince them that I'm qualified to do this.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a traditional background. I mean, like, frankly, when I got into this space, I didn't have a traditional background. I've never taken a journalism class in my life.
Nope.
I didn't think I knew enough about sports.
Who cares?
Well, you know what's funny? Like, okay.
That's our motto.
All of us have been in a situation before where we will end up on a panel, on a show, whatever, with a former player or somebody who's coaching. And we have to question the decisions or, the abilities of these professionals. It takes a long time to overcome that imposter syndrome because, like, there have been times where I'm like, why am I criticizing Byron Scott? Like, of course Byron Scott knows more about this than me. Like, this is stupid.
It's like every time I talk about LeBron James, like as if I have something to say to LeBron James.
Like these past 2 years, as if any of us know more about basketball than Darvin Ham.
Yeah, of course. That might not be a good example.
No, it is a good example. Like Darvin Ham's basketball knowledge runs circles around my Jorge, Emily, anybody.
Counterpoint, and I have to say this. Maybe play the same five guys that won all the games the year before?
Maybe. That doesn't mean that there aren't decisions he's made that my criticisms of, I think, are valid.
Sure.
But, like, okay, when I first broke into covering the Lakers, I was covering Phil Jackson teams. Like, the idea that I'm asking Phil Jackson, are you sure you made the right play there, buddy? Like, you sure that you drew that up correctly? Like,
that's why the skill set for this is just thinking that I know more. And having this blind confidence in, by the way, in anything. Like, just throw it out there. Talk about your favorite watercolor paint. I don't know a single one, but show me two, and I'll tell you who's better.
Right. I mean, there is an amount of imposter syndrome that you just have to get past. Like the idea of, look, I don't think I'm just throwing out hot take or just trying to get fake engagement. Like, I think I've thought this out.
Yeah.
I've done the mental homework, whatever. But at the end of the day, I have to tell somebody, I know you did this for a living. I still think I know more than you about this.
Jorge, you actually are a skilled person.
My man. Where do I start?
Well, yeah, you know how to run equipment.
Yeah, I know how to run
You told me a
equipment.
story where your motorcycle broke down on the side of the road and you fixed it with like a Band-Aid. Like you have
Basically.
skills.
Yeah, so I mean, I can work on motorcycles to a certain degree. I used to work for this company called ACS. Shout out Eric Alvarado, my buddy, who's his family owns a company. We used to do we used to clean movie screens.
Oh yeah.
Carpet cleaning, like all this stuff. I know how I would have been running a restaurant, I think. Thanks to buddy Jamal Ovid, who runs a Denny's, and Luis Fonseca, who runs a Denny's. I think I would have followed that path. If it wasn't this, I think I would be running 1 or 2 restaurants. Who knows?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Sure.
That tracks. You, by the way, in this alternate universe, you're my boss because the thing that I could probably figure out how to do is make a Grand Slam breakfast.
I can cook.
Like I could cook.
Okay, I can cook.
I could cook.
I can cook.
That's
I'm
the
a good
thing.
cook.
I would find my way to the kitchen somehow and be able to put together some food. That's about it.
Especially at Denny's, it's simple ingredients.
Yeah.
It's quick, ready to go kind of stuff. So you'll make.
I've thought about before the idea of like, should I have gone to culinary school?
But see, here's the thing: because it sounds fun, or because it's something that you wanted to do as a career. Because culinary school sounds interesting to me from that'd be an adventure. That sounds really fun. Not necessarily because I want to work in a kitchen my whole life.
Yeah. It is. I've worked in restaurants before. It is super high stress.
Oh yeah.
And I never worked anywhere like fine dining or like, what they were attempting to transform the restaurant on the Bear, like something like that. That is high pressure. Like that's not fun. Learning how to make all that stuff, that is fun.
Yeah.
Doing it for a living, not as fun.
I see you throwing people in jail. Like you're like a DA or something.
I did want to be a lawyer when I was a kid, / like through college.
You wanting to argue, Emily?
I know, it's crazy.
Do you know, did you want to be on, like, what sort of law? Did you get that far down the road?
I wanted to do, like, media law.
Like entertainment law?
Yeah, entertainment law was more where I was going, not necessarily bad guys, good guys in terms of, like, criminal things. That wasn't necessarily my bag, necessarily. I liked to read and synthesize, and so that was a big thing for me as a kid. And so the movie I watched yesterday, Girls State, I actually went to Girls State. It kind of reminded me of like, little Emily also wanted to do that kind of stuff over there.
All right.
Before you go on, I have a very funny tweet, and it has to do with the Lakers and their coaching search.
Perfect.
This is from Gray Ghost. He says, per Woj, this is not breaking news. Don't play that, Jorge. Per Woj, fake Woj. Rumors swirling that Alan Sliwa is interviewing for the Lakers head coaching job, which is why he's not here today. I mean, he could be. He's in Puerto Rico.
At this point, I am discounting nothing.
Well,
right?
Alan is gone for the next several days, and apparently it would take even that long to hire Alan Sliwa.
And John Ireland was like, hey, it's not JJ. Like, slow your roll on JJ. Maybe it's Alan Sliwa.
Could be somebody that nobody's talked about.
Look, maybe we get access to tickets. Maybe we'll get really good seats. We'll get an exclusive interview every day.
Lakers talk becomes a must listen.
It's very deep. It's a very deep cut. Whoever gets it, whether it's Slee or somebody else, Coach Slee. Hey, Slee, in the third quarter, I keep coming back to this, especially in light of Hurley talking about it.
We talk really quickly about the imposter syndrome. Like if I'm asking different Laker questions, that goes out the window.
You're good.
Slee
And
was the coach.
ask Slee after every game.
yeah. Hashtag Ask Slee. My name is at Broderick Turner, LA Times.
First time, long time.
Yeah.
Dan Wilkie.
Exactly. The music plays in the background pre and post game.
Amazing. Does Slee get a 6-year deal? When he's hired as the next coach of the Lakers, does he get the same, maybe not the dollars, but does he get the same length of contract, whether it's Slee, whether it's Redick, whether it's maybe a name that, got thrown out there like a Cassell or a Borrego or an Atkinson, or maybe a name that really hasn't been thrown about at all, but whoever the next coach is, do they sign a deal that is of a different term than the previous coaches have?
That is, if I'm JJ Redick, probably the number one concern I have with the situation. Like, the money, if you're JJ Redick, the money matters, but you don't need the money. Like, you're doing very well making money as we speak. You're going to have plenty of opportunities to continue making money in media. You will have other opportunities to become a coach if that's what you want to do. But given the way Lakers coach has gone since Phil Jackson, I want to know, am I stepping into a situation where you're going to have patience with me? That you're going to have patience with the situation where if we're not going 2 or 3 rounds deep every single season, regardless of what the roster is, regardless of the particular context, I'm on the chopping block.
I think that's it.
I need to know. I care more about the years than the money.
It signifies, if I'm the prospective coach, a change in plans from ownership, a change in plans of management, right? Because the Hurley term signified, hey, we got your back beyond LeBron James. We understand that the LeBron era is going to be managed away, and then the post-LeBron era is going to be managed a different way. Now, in a perfect world, you sew those things together, and you're able to seamlessly slide from one into the other, and that's what we'd like perfectly. But there's LeBron James and after LeBron James. You're our guy for both of these things. And if you all of a sudden come back to the other thing, and it's what Vogel got, it's what Ham got, and it's more like, hey, look, you're here with LeBron, and if it goes great, then cool, we'll go beyond there, but you're here with LeBron.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, I imagine with Darvin Ham, maybe not with Frank Vogel, because I don't think they ever were truly behind Frank Vogel, but I think they were definitely excited about Darvin Ham. They certainly were excited when Luke Walton was hired, although that predates Rob Pelinka.
Yep.
But a lot of these different hires, they were hired with the idea of, we're going to have you here a while. Like that, I think with the overwhelming majority of it, that was the goal. So I would assume that's the goal with Reddick. It's the goal with Dan Hurley. It would be the goal with Borrego or whatever. If I'm Reddick, though, what I want to ask them is, are you grading me on just results?
Yeah.
And it's like, in terms of results, like you get to the second round, you get to the third round, like the ending of the season. Are you grading me just purely on the ending of the season? The particulars don't matter. Or are you grading me on, do you think I'm doing a good job in whatever context I'm working in?
Andy, yes, 100 times yes to that, because the idea, I agree with you. The idea was, hey, let's hire this guy. You know what would be perfect? If we don't have to touch this job for a decade.
Yeah.
That would be perfect. I believe that each of these guys, that in a perfect world, that's what they were hoping the result would be. The practice of it, though, has been what it's been, which is turn and burn really frequently over the last, 10 or 12 years. It's just been the reality of what this has been. So if I'm the candidate, if I'm the person who's looking to take this job, where I can literally buy myself more of that time, not just buying the idea, but buying the practice of it, is with a longer term. Because the one thing that I think everybody, they don't want to have to pay guys for long periods of time to not work. They'll eat a year, they might eat 2. But if I've got a 5-year deal or a 6-year deal, and after 2 years, I'm being evaluated on results, that's very unlikely. I'm going to be evaluated on, hey, is the arrow pointed in the right direction? Because I'm not eating 4 years of this. I'm not eating 3 more years of this.
You can be graded on results in the sense of, we don't think he's doing a good job.
Right.
But the results can't just be signposts. It can't just be like which round of the playoffs.
Agreed.
Because there's too much context involved with that. And sometimes you are not equipped to win a championship. And certainly most of the time, you're not the overwhelming favorite. Like, that's just not how the world works. But if it's always championship or bust, nobody's going to succeed long term.
No one has.
Yeah.
No, and it's not a small sample size anymore. There's enough there to say this is the way that it typically goes under this regime.
Like, to me, the problem with Darvin down the stretch wasn't that they got bounced in the first round. I mean, they lost to the defending champions. The problem was, over the course of the season, he clearly lost the locker room because he was making decisions that nobody understood.
Yeah. The Dodgers have not made a ton of mistakes, but one of their biggest ones is standing on the field the last couple of days. That's coming up next. It's Travis Slee, and he's in for Slee on 710 ESPN.
so fast, sucker. Only 3 people at the radio station know how the vote goes. And one other guy who makes the trophies. Your vote counts. Vote now at ESPNLA.com. And by the way, tickets to the Mandy's $25 seats now available. The non-deluxe tickets, but you're still going to get in the door. All of that for Mandy's 3 at ESPNLA.com. Right now, the Mid-Morning Spectacular Travis and Sliwa Show continues for a Friday on 710.
If I do not win Producer of the Year at this year's Mandy's next week, again, last day to vote is today, you will see Emily Heelbull in her fullest extent.
There's another level?
There's another level that you guys don't want to see. Your radios don't want to hear it.
Andy, you're in next week, right?
I'm in on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, you might be doing those days by yourself. Although I guess next week we won't know. It's the following week. That's right, because we still got
I specifically requested that week off.
I'm
unavailable.
I'm in good shape.
Yes, you are.
I'm in good shape. I have a day, but I'm working almost all of that following. I'll only have to deal with you on Monday in person. Mm-hmm. This is very exciting.
Yeah, so don't make Emily Heelbull come out. Vote for me for Producer of the Year. Vote for the Travis.
You wouldn't
Sliwa
like
Show
me
for
if I'm angry.
She's the Bruce Banner over there.
I turned into Aaron Donald, and I just go crazy on all you guys. And by the way, the Who's have started their first game of the College World Series. They're playing North Carolina right now. There's guys on second and third and 2 outs.
I have a question about the Who's. For those that don't know, that's the colloquialism for the Virginia Cavaliers. Mm-hmm. My squad got bounced in the regional round, UCSB Gauchos. Your team is in the Final 8 in Omaha in the College World Series. Is it bad form if I jump on the bandwagon with the Who's?
Nope. Jump on the bandwagon. We are a perennial College World Series attendant team.
Do you claim Chris Taylor proudly or not?
Oh, yeah, 100% proudly as a Who. And I claim his walk-off win against the Cardinals in 2021.
I tease.
I do not claim his current year.
Current batting average. Do I get a hat? Do I a T-shirt? Like how do I do this?
I think if they end up winning, I will get you a T-shirt or a hat.
Deal.
And
T-shirt.
that you are the person that has gotten us to College World Series with the first since 2015.
Yeah.
Oh, you got free stuff to jump on the bandwagon? Hey,
hey, no. That offer was for one.
I love Thomas Jefferson. Yeah.
Henry Ford.
Yo, TJ. Yeah, their leadoff hitter's name was
Griffin
O'Farrell.
That's not as good as their first baseman's name.
First baseman's name is Henry Ford.
If your last name is Ford, can you really go with Henry or Harrison?
Honestly, the way you gotta go Dave. He may be a descendant.
The problem is Ford is such a common last name. You're running out of options if you're trying to avoid being the famous
Gerald,
one.
no Geralds.
Be Bob.
Bob Ford?
No, Bob. There's a billion Bob. Henry Ford is a very specific guy. Jerry Ford is a very specific guy. Harrison Ford is a very specific guy. Very specific guy hit a home run a couple of nights ago off of Walker Buehler. A very specific guy is a 2-time World Series MVP, one of which was on the only World Series that the Dodgers have won over the last 40-plus seasons, Corey Seager. Andrew Friedman and his team really they don't make very many mistakes. That doesn't mean that everything they do is a grand slam, but they get a lot of hits and they make a lot of big splashes. And when they do, it's Mookie Betts, it's Freddie Freeman, it's Shohei Ohtani, it's Yamamoto, it's keeping Clayton Kershaw in a Dodger uniform for they really don't miss. It's an incredibly successful team. They win the division. They've won 11 of the last 12 years, and the one time they didn't, they won 105 games. They're in the playoffs year after year. They've been to the World Series 3 times in this window. But if you had to kind of flip the coin over and start listing the things that you'd say, yeah, that was a huge miss, Corey Seager being on the Texas Rangers is one on that list. It's the thing on the list.
Well, it's also, too, it was the butterfly effect of subsequent mistakes.
Yes.
Because they thought the Corey Seager insurance was Trey Turner. And Trey Turner, it has come out since he left, say broadly speaking, not a Southern California person.
No, correct.
Like, that is...
My reporting's the wrong word, but what I have heard...
You're poking around.
What I have heard that it wasn't so much him as people in his family.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Dan.
Yes.
It's like Dan Hurley.
Sure.
Dan Hurley didn't just have to be sold on the job. He has to, in turn, sell his whole family, who are East Coast through and through, and East Coast royalty.
Yes.
Let's relocate from this great situation to Southern California where none of you want to be and go. Like, that's tough. Trey Turner, heard as well. Broadly speaking, not a Southern California guy.
Yep.
That is something the Dodgers need to know.
100%.
That is something their intel should have picked up on well before the pursuit of Trey Turner. Like, hey, I don't think he's going to want to stick around. You know, that he's got a little bit of Anthony Rendon in him. You know, LA.
Does he not like the Hollywood lifestyle either?
Trey Turner might not like, or the extended family of Trey Turner may not like the Hollywood lifestyle.
Sure.
Which then leads to Gavin Lux as the shortstop solution that isn't.
Right.
Which now leads you to Mookie Betts playing shortstop. And in a vacuum, what he's doing is pretty incredible.
It is. That is a separate topic, Andy, that I want to get into. But here's what's so interesting.
Would have been just simpler to just sign Corey Seager.
And you were 90% of the way there. That when he came through, they asked him, hey, why aren't you here? And he goes, guys, I really don't want to talk about that. All I will tell you is I loved being a Dodger. They taught me how to play baseball. They created he was very complimentary of them. But when it came time to, hey, why don't you play here anymore? He basically said, thanks, but no thanks. I don't want to get into it. Here are the facts of the matter. And it's important to kind of go backwards. The Dodgers gave a guy who had never pitched in the major leagues $300 million in 10 years in Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Okay? It's a big commitment. They gave Tyler Glasnow 5 years and over $100 million. Tyler Glasnow has always been very good. He's never healthy. Yep. So far, so good. Knocking on wood. They went above and beyond that thing that typically they would be comfortable with. Ohtani. Don't even add any context to that. It's the biggest contract, blah, 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 right?
Here's Will Smith a very long deal.
Will Smith, but an AAV that's pretty palatable.
Oh, sure. No, I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying it's another example 100%. Of a very long deal.
The the Rangers signed Corey Seager to a 10-year, $325 million contract, okay? Math is pretty easy on that. He makes $32.5 million a year. The Dodgers reportedly offered an 8-year, $250 million contract. The difference in that's a $31.25 million a year. You're talking about $1.25 million over 2 more years. Okay, the total value of the contract, it's $75 more million. I get that. You're already willing to go $8,250. Is $10,325 really that much different? I know it sounds crazy, but it's really not. If all of the problems or butterfly effect that we've talked about, he's the guy that showed up and won you the World Series in large part. It clearly wasn't lightning in a bottle. He did it again last year for the Rangers. The only knock on this dude is he get hurt kind of frequently. But when he's out there, my God, he's one of the best that you've seen. And you see what's going on at short, and it's just you see him hit that ball halfway up the pavilion. It's the one they say they should have seen this one coming.
Yeah. I mean, in the moment, I was surprised. And since then, I thought they don't make a lot of high-profile mistakes, but this was a pretty costly one because how many years ago was that? 4 or 5?
3 or 4, I want to say.
They still have not landed on a solution with this. And they keep having to go in very different, unusual ways to try to offset a hole at a very important position.
And look, what has the knock on the Dodgers been over the last several seasons as far as their postseason performance? They just turtle. They just don't show up in big moments. Who did? That guy.
Yeah.
And who did it again? That guy. Mm-hmm. And look, Mookie Betts has won 2 World Series. He's an MVP. Freddie Freeman has won the World Series, and he was an MVP. It's not to say that these guys don't have it in them. I believe that they do. But this is your guy. Right? I remember, telling Sliwa when Sliwa and I first, Corey Seager, this is the guy that I think kind of, other than Clayton Kershaw, he's like the Dodgeriest of these guys. He was drafted by the Dodgers.
He was kind of in their farm system.
He was the one that you say, hey, this guy, this Seager kid that's coming, I think his older brother's Kyle Seager up in Seattle. It's he's pretty good. His little brother, way better. Way better. Wait till this guy shows up. He shows up with all the fanfare, and he delivers. And from the moment he shows up, he's really, really good. There's no drama with this guy, and yet he's gone. It's one of the few. We could spend 10 hours talking about what we just talked about with the Angels with 400 different guys.
Yeah.
That this jumps out at the Dodgers, I think, speaks to how good they are at it. But, man, what a big miss.
Yeah, especially in a series like this, you just get that visual reminder of, yeah, that dude's really good.
And he smoked his buddy.
And it also, I didn't know if he talked about, and I've mentioned this, that it doesn't seem like the Dodgers necessarily lowballed him. I know that I think they made an offer, right? But like
they made the Laker offer.
Yeah.
Good, not great.
Yeah. Not enough to say, I can't go to the Rangers.
8,250 reportedly.
Well, it's also one of those, if you're going to go this far, you might as well go all the way.
Yeah.
Because in all honesty, if you end up unhappy with the Seager deal, you're not going to likely be happy with it at the price that they were willing to sign him anyway. Like, if that deal aged, if for whatever reason Seager didn't work out or he underperformed or whatever, you're probably going to feel buyer's remorse at that
Can I play
price.
devil's advocate on that? I agree with you, but if I'm trying to put myself inside of Andrew Friedman's head during this negotiation, I was really uncomfortable with 8 to begin with. I was giving 8 hoping to get 5. Now you're asking me to go to 10 hoping to get 5. And that's the Pujols deal. That was one of those. They did.
Yeah, but the difference is the Pujols deal was a horrible idea. I'm from St. Louis. I know a lot of Cardinal fans. They were, to a man, everyone I spoke to, all very sad to see Pujols go.
Yep.
All relieved that the Cardinals didn't match what the Angels were putting out.
100%. But what I'm getting at, Andy, is that if you know, like the Cardinal people knew, this deal stinks, okay? If you're Andrew Friedman and you think this deal, a 10-year deal for this guy, is a bad deal.
Right, but
because 8 is at the far, far edge of a good one.
Right, but the difference is, though, it was reasonable to count on 5 good years from Seager of those 8. And then you just hope the other 3 aren't incredibly painful.
Yeah.
Pujols, how many years was that?
10.
You'd have been lucky if there were 2 good years.
And it was about that.
He was in decline with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
In obvious
decline. He'd gone over the hill.
Right, that was insane what the Angels did.
Well, like I said, we could spend several days.
I'm just saying that's the difference between Seager and Pujols. There was no justification for the Angels deal with Pujols.
Like I said at the beginning, I agree with all of this, but I'm just trying to think of why those last 2 were the breaking point. If they were at their very extreme edge on 8, I just can't do.
Well, you know
10.
what I think the difference might be? You look at someone like Glasnow, versus Seager. Maybe the difference is just realizing sometimes you have to take a chance.
Yeah.
You just have to take a chance.
Here's another part. The Dodgers are in a different place now with Glasnow, with Yamamoto, with Ohtani, quite frankly, than they were 4 years ago where, hey, we had won a World Series. We'd just been in 2 others. They hadn't had as much disappointment as they had at this point, and it felt like they were on the trajectory. We finally cracked the code. We know how to do this now.
Let me ask you this. This just came to mind to me. Around the time when they ultimately wouldn't go that far with Seager, do you think they would have made the same deal for Will Smith?
Maybe not. Now, the AAV on Will Smith is a more palatable one, but maybe not. I think they've gone into hey, listen, we've had 12 years of wild success. We got 1 to show for it. Let's burn this thing to the ground. And if it blows up, it blows up. But we can't just say we're going to do the smart thing every single time. Occasionally, we're going to have to do what you said, which is, you know what? Blanket. Give him what he wants. Let's go do it. All right. Factor Cap coming up next. It's Travis Lee, 710 ESPN. It's the summertime, right? It's a good time to be outside. It's a good time to go take a trip. And
your summer station.
Your summertime station or whatever that was. Summer station. You're going to take a summer drive, and you're going to make sure that your car is running at its best. You need to go to Valvoline, the Valvoline Instant Oil Change, home of the 15-minute drive-through oil change. That noise you probably won't hear because your wipers aren't going to be on. It's the summer. But they'll do your wipers too, Jorge. They're going to take care of that for you. Oil changes, tire rotations, transmission care, wipers, and a whole lot more. Just pull up, drive in, and drive out in about 15 minutes. And at Valvoline, you don't even have to get out of your car. You just chill. Just sit there in the front seat, relax, listen to the Trav and Slee show, listen to 710, close your eyes, take a short little nap while the experts at Valvoline go to work on your car in, out, down the road in about 15 minutes. And no matter where you are, they're right around the corner from you. 80 locations around SoCal, ready to get your ride ready for the road in no time at all. So visit SoCalOilChange.com, find a location, get some game-winning coupons off of your next Valvoline Instant Oil Change.
If we're good, we're good. Vote now at ESPNLA.com. By the way, pick up your $25 Mandy's tickets. We've released the $25 tickets now. ESPNLA.com. Factor cap time on the Travis and Sliwa Show.
I love you, but you are not serious people.
As I like to say, take it away, producer Emily.
Thanks, Christopher. It's time for Radio Tinder / Factor Cap. The way Radio Tinder works is that if you agree, you swipe right. If you disagree, you swipe left. And so,
wait, hold on. Right. Say that again.
If you agree, swipe right. If you disagree, swipe left.
Got it.
You got it, guys? All right.
See.
So yesterday I went to a movie screening, and at the movie screening, they had both a Q&A afterwards, and they had a little not happy hour, but like appetizer
light
hour,
snacks?
light snacks hour, some drinks, things like that. It was very
Love
nice.
a good light snack.
Well, one of the past hors d'oeuvres was deviled eggs.
Oh.
And deviled eggs as past hors d'oeuvres is just a little bit off for me. It's not necessarily my go-to. Maybe it's the eggs, maybe it's the hot. I don't know what it is.
Do you typically like deviled eggs?
I'm mediocre on deviled
Okay.
eggs. It's not my go-to, but I'll eat them occasionally. All right, so my statement is you eat past deviled eggs. It's like it's a past hors d'oeuvres. So Travis, swipe left or swipe right?
Swipe right. There's short of having deviled eggs that have been sitting out in the sun for 12 hours. There's no environment where I'm not going to eat them. And quite frankly, you're going to have that scene in Seinfeld where I'm lingering near where she comes out because deviled eggs are right in the sweet spot for me. I absolutely love them.
Do you tell the guy, hey, don't go anywhere?
Yeah. Well, it's one of those. Here's how it would go, sir. Can I interest you in a deviled egg? I'd say, that sounds great. Is it okay if I take more than one? Like, because you don't want to be a pig, but I also do want to be a pig and take 3.
Andy?
That is a swipe left. Trying to put this as politely as possible. I can't eat deviled eggs.
Full stop.
Is it an egg thing?
It is an egg thing. It is an egg yolk thing. I like them. They do not like me.
Okay. Oh.
Like, let me put it this way: a party situation for me and deviled eggs is a horrible.
Is it a number 2 situation? Like,
Come on, we're trying to win you Producer of the Year award. You need to stop with that.
I don't know. I just don't like it.
If she's trying to show that she can handle Sedano and Cap, this is
Exactly.
often the conversation. It is an extreme number 2.
Very, very extreme number 2. All right, Jorge.
Wonderful.
I'm gonna.
I wasn't gonna go there.
I'm gonna swipe left on this one, just because I'm not a big fan of hard-boiled eggs. I like them over medium, even though me and you have this argument that you like them over easy or sun side up, whatever it is. I'm not a huge fan of hard-boiled eggs. And then the yolk, it's also too dry. When
you put a little onion in the yolk with a little paprika on the top, and sometimes they'll put some shallot in. Oh my God, I can't eat enough of them.
Sometimes I get into a mode where I'm like, I forget that they're, and then I remember that they're eggs.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, that's gross. Like, I'm eating eggs. I'm
Do
eating
you
another
dislike
animal's
eggs?
No, I like eggs, but then I eat eggs a lot, and then I realize, wait, I'm eating an egg.
You know what's funny? I thought what you were going at was that, like, I've eaten, 8 deviled eggs. Like, you'd never eat 4 eggs in one sitting.
It's like
That's
saying
too many.
tortillas when you have a ton of tortilla chips, but you've actually just eaten 15 tortillas.
This is a Cole Hand Luke situation.
Yeah.
Nobody can
eat that many eggs.
I also feel like every psycho serial killer eats hard-boiled eggs, like in movies.
They're easy.
Like The Killer, they do that.
Yes.
He does that. All right, so Dan Hurley's on Dan Le Batard. Tell a little bit story about why he chose not to sign with the Lakers. He told a story about how his wife was not very happy that as soon as they're settled, he's trying to move again. She's like, I really like New Jersey. But he said, hey, come with me. They went to interview with Rob and Jeannie, but then they also went to Manhattan Beach, and they looked around Manhattan Beach, and they're like, oh, we actually like this place. But they got back to Connecticut, and they decided to stay. So my statement is, Manhattan Beach would get you to move to L.A. Andy, swipe left or swipe right?
For that kind of money?
But just Manhattan Beach. If you just all you saw was Manhattan Beach and the Lakers facility, you would move to L.A.
If I'm Dan Hurley, I think the answer is no, because I think Dan Hurley has been around.
The answer is
enough.
what?
The answer is swipe left. Swipe left. Thank you. Good producing right there. Good producing. Don't let it slide. I think the answer is swipe left because Dan Hurley has probably seen enough in his time. And honestly, if Dan Hurley wanted Manhattan Beach, he could have gotten Manhattan Beach by now.
Vacation house.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that is not a massive draw for Dan Hurley. Otherwise, he'd have been staking out his reputation at UCLA.
All right, Travis.
It's a swipe left for Dan Hurley. It's a swipe right for me. Right? Like if you brought me.
Well, the question's for you.
Oh yeah, then it's
I
a swipe.
misunderstood
Then
the
it's
question.
a swipe right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Look, I'm not a beachy guy. Like I'm not somebody that's going to put my chair in the sand and stare at the waves for 10 hours a day.
Toes in the water, butt in the sand.
Not really my jam, but I like being near it. I like where I live now. I'm relatively close to the ocean.
You're looking at it.
It's not even look. I like what it does to the weather. It's almost always relatively cool. It's temperate. That's incredibly. I hate being hot. I hate it. I don't like being cold. The coastal communities of Southern California are exactly what I want. And 70 million? Let's go.
Let me re-answer the question, because now I'm going to answer it as me, not as Dan Hurley. Swipe left. And the answer is because if it's going to be a beach community, I don't want it to be Manhattan Beach.
Right.
That's not the one I would choose.
What would you choose?
I mean, Manhattan Beach also is very popular for Tinder because, those Manhattan Beach bros.
Malibu?
Malibu, or maybe a
Laguna Niguel?
Santa Barbara?
I would. Manhattan Beach is a little too USC 13th grade for me, if I'm being honest. It
Great
is.
for Tinder, like I said.
It can be fun. I've had fun there. To live there, Manhattan Beach is a little broy for me, in all honesty.
All right, Jorge.
I'm gonna swipe left on this one. I'm not too. I'm gonna sound like John. I'm not too familiar with the area, and I don't like it. I haven't seen it, but I don't think it's too good. No, I think I would go with Malibu, like you guys mentioned, because I've been up there. I've taken my motorcycle up there. I've gone along the coast. I like it down there where you're at. In the South OC. So maybe somewhere down there.
Laguna's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Oh, Laguna is nice. I like that little cliff. I have a picture of the cliff there from my bike. It's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it.
So Tom Brady was talking about how he's preparing for his upcoming broadcasting gig this fall with Fox. And he said that he was using AI to help him prepare, kind of synthesize information, tell him some stuff, and that it was just a helpful tool to help him prepare to be a broadcast host. Again, I don't think he needs it because he is AI, but it's cheating to use AI in any form. Use ChatGPT, it's cheating in the way you prepare for things to use AI. Jorge, fact or cap?
Man.
Sorry. Not fact or cap.
Yeah.
Swipe left or
They're
swipe
totally
right.
different concepts.
I know,
totally
right? Exactly.
Different.
This is what I'm highlighting here, is that they're totally different segments.
I'm going to swipe left on this one because can we tell when it's AI? For some things, we can, right? Can it be helpful? Like, I edit, I shoot stuff. Can it be helpful for the type of work I do? If I use it 100%, maybe, it is cheating. But if I can take maybe 10% or certain elements from AI and use them to make my stuff look a little better, I don't think it's cheating.
So you're telling me AI is all over the Mandates next Saturday?
No. I'm going to try to generate something with AI for Mandy's and see if you guys can catch which one's AI and which one's not.
Okay, is it AI of Mace holding up his Mandy Award for host
That's the only way it'll happen.
She's on a heater.
Exactly.
All right, Trev. Swipe left or swipe right?
Yeah, it's a swipe left for me. I think the way that Brady is using it, I think is the best way to use it. It's to simulate things to help you get better at something sooner. It's the best version of a shortcut, right? It can't be the solution to, but if it can help you get to the spot that you want to go, absolutely it's useful.
Yeah, I'm swiping left as well, just at the most literal. If you are allowed to do it, it's not cheating. Like, by definition, Brady is not cheating in this he's not. He's allowed to do it.
Okay. Brady's a cheater. Who knows?
I mean, he's a cheater maybe in other areas, just not this.
I'm talking more about his on-the-field cheating in terms of Deflategate and taping other teams.
But if you and I don't
why don't you just tell us the answer you want us to give?
This is how Factor Cap works. Or sorry, this is how also Radio Tinder works.
Is this your first time speaking with her? This is how this goes. Well done.
And that was Radio Tinder. Thanks, guys.
Lindsay. Or Madam Heeble. Heelable. I can't get the L in there. Heelable. There you go.
It's as if the listeners were tuning in with Sedano and Cappy.
Love boat.
Trevor Lawrence got paid, which means everybody else is about to as well. That's next. It's Travis Lee, 710 ESPN.
You never have to miss a moment of LA's mega sports station.
and Sliwa.
Day has the same person dropped off food at your house twice in one day? I don't know.
Great question.
Travis and Sliwa.
On 710 ESPN.
Andy, I like doing shows with you for a number of different reasons, but there's one in particular reason that I don't like doing shows with you. And it's because you highlight my inability to eat like an adult. That Andy, have you guys noticed?
Wow.
Have you guys noticed that here's what Andy does? Andy eats at roughly the same time every day when we do the show together. Mm-hmm. It's almost always something that is freshly prepared from home, not something that you're pulling out of a sack that you got handed through a window. And it just demonstrates to me that you've put some time, effort, and forward thought into deciding what it is you want to do, and all you do is make me feel bad about myself that 9 out of 10 food choices I make are based on impulse in the moment.
If it makes you feel any better, I wasn't always like this. It took my father almost dying suddenly to have this type of life change. I'm just saying, so just to let you know, I wasn't always this perfect.
Okay.
Like it took an impetus. My dad, about 25 years ago, had a heart attack, had to have either like quintuple or quadruple bypass, like that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, he was serious. He's fine now. He's great now. But he always took incredible care of himself. He's not a drinker. He's never been a smoker. Like he's always been very exercise driven. And he had this, and there are heart issues that run on both sides of my family. And at the time, I looked at myself, smoker, much heavier drinker, other items, ate a lot of like fast food. I ate a lot of crap, and I was like, okay, if he's dealing with this, given his lifestyle, I need to change some stuff.
I'm looking at strawberries, peaches, what is that, cherries in there?
Cherries, the Trader Joe's frozen cherries. They're awesome.
And cherries are in season.
They are in season.
It's a good
papaya, frozen, for frozen mango.
Wow.
I'm a big, by the way, frozen fruit is awesome. Frozen fruit is like
it's nature's candy, Andy.
Yeah. What do you call the video game? It's the cheat code of fruit.
Oh, okay.
Freezing it. It gives it a different
Do you buy
taste.
the stuff in the bags already, or do you cut up your fruit and then freeze it?
Both,
Do you
depending
eat
on what
frozen?
it is.
Like,
yes.
How?
No, Jorge, come on, buddy.
What
are you doing?
I don't do it literally like that. But like
but that's
frozen,
the sound of you biting into frozen material.
frozen bananas, for example, they will taste like banana ice cream. They're like freezing somehow gives it like a sweetness that's not overwhelming.
I can't with my teeth. I can't bite into frozen stuff.
Oh, Emily, I can't either. You got to learn to power through.
Do you want it or not, Emily?
I want to eat regular
I have to wear a
non-frozen
night guard
fruit.
when I sleep because I've run through so much enamel. Again, do you want this or not?
I don't.
You have a night guard?
I do have a night guard.
I have it, and my dentist always tells me you need to wear it. You grind your teeth. Yeah. I feel like I'm being choked to death when I put that thing in my mouth. Because of that. All night long, I'm doing that. It's awful.
That's you taking out your knife guard.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is disappointing. Trevor Lawrence got a 5-year, $275 million extension. That, according to Ian Rappaport, that's $55 million a year, with 142 of that 275 fully guaranteed. So that's the number that matters, the 142, because the number that matters for Matthew Stafford has already been paid out, right? Like there's these numbers that are on a paper, 275. That's not how much money he'll see. What he'll see is 142. Mm-hmm. Trevor Lawrence is, by NFL standards, I think kind of right smack in the middle of the pack as far as good NFL starting quarterbacks go, right? That he doesn't stink. You would not watch him and go, oh my God, what is going on here?
He's above average. Or average.
I think he's just slightly, if C is average, he's a C plus B minus kind of guy. He's not a guy that you're dying to get your hands on because he's going to change your franchise. But he's also a guy you're going to be incredibly reluctant to move on from.
Like
because,
if things break right, he could win a couple games for you.
But everything's got to break right, I think is the rub. But it's also, if things do break right, he's good enough. But that's why I think all of this stuff about like Matthew Stafford and Justin Herbert, for instance, the Rams realized that with Jared Goff, he was more in the Lawrence mode. That can we Yeah, but everything else needs to be really buttoned up. And if it comes down to making a play or not, I don't know if he can do it. Matthew Stafford's the other guy. Like, look, is he going to make some mistakes? Occasionally, yes. But, hey, we just need you to go do that thing right now. Can you do it? He can. There's maybe 10 of those tops. The Rams have one. And when you see Lawrence get his $55 million a year, it's just a matter of time until Stafford's going to get his.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if the Rams consider themselves in win now mode, and they look at like the loss of Aaron Donald, they look at like the loss of blanking on his name, defensive coordinator,
Raheem Morris.
Yeah.
Right, Raheem Morris. Like if they look at these different losses and say we still think we are in shape to make the playoffs and roll the dice from there, then it makes no sense not to commit to Matthew Stafford. You know, if they feel like, okay, you know what, we really might be a different team, then maybe you start thinking about pivoting away. But if you are going to be competing, you're not going to be able to find anybody better to compete with right now than Stafford.
No, and this is why I think the Chargers finally made a really smart move when they went and got Jim Harbaugh. It's the first thing I've seen them do that made you go, okay, they're on to something, because they do have one of those guys. I think Justin Herbert's one of those guys that is better than average. That if you need, hey, listen, we're down 4, there's a minute, I'm going to need you to throw a couple balls through a hole the size of a football and a half, and you got no time to do it. I think he's one of those guys, but nothing else worked there. So when you get one of these dudes, you have to go above and beyond. Get them the right coach. Get them the weapons that they need, because the Lawrence of it all is, yeah, they're okay. They're not bad. It's not like you're looking at him saying, but I'm not dying to have the 2-minute drill run with Trevor Lawrence.
But here's the thing, though. It is really difficult to find a quarterback better than Trevor Lawrence. I'm not saying it's difficult to.
You're right.
It's not difficult to name a quarterback better than Trevor Lawrence.
To get one.
But to find one. Because, like, okay, if he's considered an average level starting quarterback or even slightly above average, that means he's in the top like 14, 15, 16 in the league.
Yep.
Which means there are only, say, 15 quarterbacks in the entire league, counting backups, counting third string guys. There are only 14 people in the entire league that you feel more comfortable with than Trevor Lawrence. That doesn't give you a lot of leeway in terms of saying we'll walk away from him. And the Jaguars, are they a Super Bowl contender?
Not in that conference.
But they're a playoff contender.
Right. That's the thing. They're too good to not continue with Trevor Lawrence.
Shoot the shot.
Right. They're too good to walk away from that.
There's too much the idea that there's you're a huge risk to go back to the draft, because the risk is it's about 50-50 if these guys work out. But the thing too with Trevor Lawrence, and this may be just specific to him, he had such a crazy start to his career because his coach was bad. His coach was Urban Meyer. Then he had Doug Peterson, and Doug Peterson tends to have high highs and then averages out. So if you're the Jaguars, I think it's much easier to change out your coach than it is to change out your quarterback, because the coach is easier to find a good one. And that's why, again, that's why sometimes it's like, is it 1A or 1B? Who's more important, the coach or the quarterback? You got to have both that are good.
Jacksonville's had a winning record ever since they got rid of Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's the other part of it, too.
You know, it's funny that Doug Peterson might be the coach equivalent of Trevor Lawrence. He's good, and he won the Super Bowl, but is he Bill Belichick, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid? No.
But he's won a Super Bowl.
But exactly. It's like he's...
But here's the difference,
Jacksonville is that of Florida. It's the city of Florida. It's like, that's okay. It's not Miami, but it's not Orlando.
Well, at least it's not on the Gulf. It's on the road. It's on the ocean. That's better.
Exactly.
I mean, that's exactly how Jacksonville ended up the running joke in The Good Place. That's what Jacksonville is. But it's harder to find the coach version it's harder to find the quarterback version of Trevor Lawrence than it is to find the coach version of Doug Peterson.
I agree.
It's way harder to find the Trevor Lawrence.
And it's really hard to find the Sean McVay and the Matthew Stafford, and that's why that they have them both.
Yep.
They're going to cut checks. They take care of the people that they're in love with. The people that they are dating, so to speak, it's like, we're gonna wait on that. But think about who they've paid. They've paid Sean McVay. They've paid Matthew Stafford. They paid Jared Goff. They paid Todd Gurley. They paid Aaron Donald. They paid Jalen Ramsey. The guys that you
paid Cooper Kupp.
They paid Cooper Kupp. The guys that you got to keep, they made very happy. Yeah. And it sometimes it takes a little time, but none of those guys were on different teams because they didn't get paid by LA.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say they'll pay Puka Nacua.
I think if he does anything approaching what he did last year, I think that's a pretty good bet too. Lakers very likely will have a coach by the draft. That's coming up next. It's Travis Slee, and he's in for Slee on 710 ESPN. Not likely, a certainty is what you will get at Rolo Chevrolet. And what you will get is unbelievable selection. You're thinking, that Silverado that Trav's always talking about, that thing's awesome. I got to go check that out. Every make, model, and color Silverado you can think of at Rolo Chevrolet. Pricing, you're going to get a great deal at Rolo Chevrolet. Customer service, like nobody else. 13 years in a row, Dealer of the Year. Do you know why? Because that's how Mike Capozio makes sure Rolo runs every single day. Every single person in the operation of Rolo Chevrolet, their mission is to make sure that you feel good about your purchase from Rolo. From the moment you get there, from the moment you're going through financing, to the moment you drive off the lot, you're going to know every single step of the way what's going on. When's the last time you could say that when you went looking for a car or a truck? That's what happens every day at Rolo, because that's the way that Mike Capozio wants it, and that's why he's dancing on TV all the time, because he's in a good mood, because they nailed it again. So if you've been thinking about it, going out to Rolo Chevrolet, right off the 210 freeway, Sierra Avenue exit, you can't miss it. That's where all the Silverados are. And if you're thinking, Fontana, man, it's a little far for me, go online. ROTOLO, RotoloChevy.com. And whether you're there or online, make sure they know that Travis sent you.
Sitting in for Slee. Today is the final day to vote at ESPNLA.com for all the Mandy Awards that will be given out next Saturday night at the Commerce Casino. Now, sometimes there's been conspiracies that the vote is rigged. Not so fast, sucker. Only 3 people at the radio station know how the vote goes, and one other guy who makes the trophies. Your vote counts. Vote now at ESPNLA.com. And by the way, tickets to the Mandy's $25 seats now available. The non-deluxe tickets, but you're still going to get in the door. All of that for Mandy's 3 at ESPNLA.com. Right now, the Mid-Morning Spectacular Travis and Sliwa Show continues for a Friday on 710.
So at Mandy's 2, I probably had 25 different people approach me wanting to do a boat race, a challenge, right? You and I did it on the stage, Andy.
Yes, we did.
And Key attempted to participate.
Also, remind me of the results of that.
I won. Here's the thing. I hadn't lost one of those in, quite frankly, decades. Okay, until that dude at Pizza Hut earlier this year demolished me, and I've retired. I retired. I've never tried it again.
You hung your cup.
This guy was like out of a movie. He was like 6'5". You could tell he'd spent a lot of time in the gym. He's a big guy, but also liked his beer. He had a shirt, a green shirt, I think like Celtics green, that said, "I heart beer."
Oh, wow.
Okay, and he's eyeballing me across the parking lot at Pizza Hut the entire day. And one of these other guys comes in and he goes, "That's my," I forget the guy's name, unfortunately. He goes, "That's my buddy in the green shirt. He wants to boat race you." And I looked at this guy. I'm like, well, this is where it all ends. And I was right.
Okay, it took me a second to figure out that you were talking about a station event at Pizza Hut. I thought for a second you were with your family, just sitting down and having some nice Pizza Hut, and all of a sudden
that would have made it better.
And all of a sudden this guy across there, he's always wearing his game shirt. He's always in his game shirt. Finally saw the guy that he wanted to take down.
Now I'm kind of hoping that does. I'll come out of retirement.
And also, since I can produce any show, I was listening to Stana and Cap before, and I think Cappy always confuses the word boat race for motorboat. So this guy wanted a motorboat.
Those are very different. Those are not the same thing. But for Mandy's 3, do I come out of do I take a few challenges? I didn't take all 25 challenges on. I probably did 2 or 3.
Depends. Is that guy going to be there?
Oh, I'm not messing with it. Look, that guy won. Unlike Apollo Creed, I don't want a rematch.
I mean, Travis, do you want to be man of the people or not?
I do want to be man of the people because I have been man of the people, and if I win it again, I would be honored to be selected back-to-back times.
So here's my...
But I don't want to... Look, Emily, I'm a relatively competitive person, and I also know how to pick my battles. I can't beat this guy. This is not a matter of me, hey, I'm going to get a little faster. I can't beat that guy. He is faster than me.
You can't win.
I can't. I am my own Adrian.
Okay. Here's my proposition for you, and this is, again, for you listening. This is why you should vote today. Vote often today, as many times as you want today. Like, bug the website, like, as many times as you want. Travis, if you win Man of the People again, will you chug a beer on stage as your acceptance speech?
Absolutely.
All right, so if you want to see Travis come out of retirement and chug a beer, you have to vote for him today, all day today, to make sure he's Man of the People.
I think I've mentioned this. My oldest son is 23, maybe 24, 23, I think. He has seen the videos that we've posted on the station events of me doing this. He is convinced that he can beat me. 100% convinced that
is he your plus one for Saturday?
He is not. The lovely Susan Rogers will be accompanying me to the Mandy's. He's like, yeah, you're pretty fast. He goes, but there's no doubt in my mind I can never give him the opportunity, right? Or do I risk it once, maybe blow out my esophagus and beat him and then never, ever do it again?
Do you have a scouting report on him? Like, do you have any idea of how good he actually is?
So we went down for Parents Weekend on San Diego State to visit our daughter. And we were doing a little backyard beer pong and stuff and having a good time. And I saw him take one down, and he was fast. I don't know if it was fast enough to beat me, but it would be very close.
This is starting to get into some very, Luke Skywalker, Anakin, Darth Vader.
Do I do it? Do I give him a shot at it, Jorge?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Why not?
He's pretty fast.
I mean... It would be very, very bold.
I think you can't do it as your first thing out of retirement, though. I think you got to have some warm ups, get yourself losing
practice.
I think that would be to my advantage rather than to his. Having done it in front of an audience before, my stage fright when it comes to boat racing is non-existent. I think I was about to say something about the thing of pizza. That guy killed me. It wouldn't matter where we're doing it. I think the more pressure, the bigger advantage I might have. That the boy has never had the opportunity beyond his fraternity house to do something like this.
But your son does not seem, look at the time that we met him and he came into the show, he doesn't seem to get shy at all.
No.
He seems to honestly like the limelight.
That's a good point.
Is this the shoeless boy or the non-shoeless boy?
This is the shoeless one. Shoeless Bobby Rogers.
That's a good name.
That's how they introduce him.
With the Field of Dreams music. Yeah,
shoeless Bobby Rogers.
Project corn on the curtain as he comes out from behind.
Let's get ready to
And he's got the pot in one hand, the chili pot.
Yeah, he's got my absent chili pot. I don't think I can do it because he might get me. But it would be the ultimate walk-off shot. I don't know. Hit us up on Twitter at Travis Rogers. You can give us a call, 877-710-3776. Next week and a half is the draft. Free agency shortly thereafter. The Lakers are in the process of hiring a coach. Is it guaranteed that the order of operations will go coach, draft, free agency? Or could the coach piece come after some or both of the other two?
We're referencing, there was a report from Dan Wojcicki, man of Emily's dreams, and also covers
literally
literal dreams. And I know, Dan, you have a lovely wife and children.
Yeah. Oh,
that
no.
is not the dream I'm talking about.
Man of non-sexual, very platonic, strange dreams, but platonic nonetheless. Covers the Lakers for the LA Times, and he had put out a tweet saying that the Lakers do not think it is essentially necessary,
an absolute necessity.
Absolute necessity to have a coach in place before the draft. Are they correct? Technically, yes. Like, they will be allowed to select if they don't have a coach. Is it anything even remotely resembling a reasonable approach to doing this? God, no.
The timeline of it all, does it matter? That's coming up next. It's Travis Slee. Andy's in for Slee on 710 ESPN.
10 ESPN.
The way that you categorized Dan Wyke as the man of Emily's dreams is very, very funny to me.
Well, I guess technically the man of Emily's dream.
Of the dream. Her most recent dream. Do you have the one where you show up to school and you haven't studied for the final or been to the class all year? Is that one?
I called that school.
Well, so did I. But so here's the thing. Obviously, it's an anxiety dream. Obviously, it's a dream about being unprepared for something that's coming up in your life, right? It could be a million different things. But I don't know why that manifests as the scary part, because that's how I did school. Like that was not a scary thing for me. I would show up,
but it's not how you do your life now.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But my goodness, I used to show up for the midterm and the final and read the books. I did read the books, but I wasn't going to class.
This was my thing. I rarely, if ever, had that unprepared for school dream, just because it took me a while before I took school seriously enough that's how it manifests in my dreams. But to this day, and this is the unprepared dream, I will have dreams where I'm doing a play and I don't know my lines.
Oh, that would suck.
Anxiety-induced.
Yes.
That's also how I was as an actress.
Could you not memorize your lines?
It would be very difficult for me.
Really?
It's better at improv than I was memorizing lines. Anyway.
I had no problem memorizing my lines, but that was just, I still get this now. I will have these dreams where I get out on stage and I have no idea what this scene is about.
To be or line.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Romeo, where for what? So what's going on right now, games-wise, sports-wise? So the Euro League is a Euro Cup. Is it called that?
Yeah, Euro Cup, yeah.
Euro Cup's happening right now, Euro 2024, and then also UVA's and the College World Series. And so my dad and I text about sports, and specifically we both care a lot about UVA baseball, and we care a lot about international soccer. For some reason, those have crossed over. So my dad, previous to this, had texted me about a book I gave him, and he loved the book. And Happy Father's Day coming up on Sunday. But he just texted me. I said, hey, are you watching the Germany-Scotland game and the UVA game right now? And he says, yeah, watching College World Series, UVA versus UNC, but also switching between the two in risky business. So that's my dad, because he's a teacher, so he's out of school right now, so he has his summer vacation started.
Like the Tom Cruise risky business?
Yeah, so it's his perfect Friday afternoon is Euro soccer,
that's great.
College World Series, and risky business.
Awesome.
Pretty good movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
As far as Tom Cruise movies go, I will watch that one.
You've seen it?
I have seen it, and I don't hate it.
How many Tom Cruise films have you seen to have decided you do not need to see any Tom Cruise films?
So Top Gun,
okay,
Rain Man, Risky Business, Jerry Maguire, War of the Worlds. It's 5.
Okay, that's a decent sample size.
And typically the good ones, or quote unquote the good ones.
I was going to say, I think you have seen enough of what people drew or what drew them to Tom Cruise in the first place. This is a responsible decision on your part.
It's not.
She did her due diligence.
Well, this is not Ireland and Coco, where Ireland
fetch isn't going to happen.
Well,
Coco's
Ireland's
terrific, by the way.
It is really good.
Yeah.
But Ireland has rated Coco in the rankings for Pixar movies, having never seen it.
Which of the Tom Cruise movies that you saw did you dislike the most?
Top Gun.
No, honestly, Jerry Maguire. I hated the most because it had so much potential. It had such a good idea, but it was so bad, and I think he was ill-cast, and I think that, was it Zeta-Jones, or was it Renee Zellweger?
Renee Zellweger.
Renee Zellweger was bad. Cuba Gooding Jr. bad. Won an Oscar for it. So overall, bad.
Okay, but the Cuba thing violates one of my rules, right? If you're going to play an athlete, I need to buy it. Yeah. And look, he never really plays football. I know he takes the one hit, but Cuba Gooding is not a big man.
Nope.
But he's pretty jacked in the movie.
He's pretty fit, but the NFL is for big people. Even at wide receiver, he is abnormally short. And it just felt like he's standing next to Tom Cruise and didn't look enormous.
So you need everyone to be like Jacob Elordi or The Rock?
It helps. You don't have to look like The Rock, but you do need to, if you're playing an NBA player, for instance, and I can tell through context clues that you're 6 feet tall, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, especially back then, when everybody in football has gotten bigger now. We're like tight ends look like defensive tackles.
Right.
But in the mid-90s, Cuba Gooding Jr., I just looked it up, he's listed at 5'10".
So that means he's 5'7".
5'7", 5'8", whatever. But it's all relative to who's next to you, whatever. I think he is believable for a early to mid-90s wide receiver.
I will allow.
Like, how tall is Jerry Rice?
6'1", 2", something like that.
Look up Jerry Rice's height.
Yeah. What do you got?
6'2".
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just
4 inches.
5'7" does not work.
4 inches is a lot.
Yes, it can be.
I'm just describing the difference between 5'10" and 6'2".
Leaving it alone.
Again, sit down and cap.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're filling it up. An absolute necessity. It is not that the Lakers hire a coach before the draft, according to reports. Okay, fine, I get it. Like we talked about. I know that the NBA bylaws will allow them to draft players without having a head coach in place, and I believe they've done it. I think they hired Byron after the draft.
I mean, technically speaking, they don't even need Rob Pelinka there to do it. Like, they just need somebody who's officially on the payroll.
Yeah, they need a working telephone, right? I guess it is what they need, really.
A working text to
right. But again, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Hurley and the terms that Hurley, not the money, but rather the length of the contract, that the 6 years, I think it was a pretty clear indication that the Lakers are operating under the understanding that there is both today and tomorrow, and that they would like to have a coach for today and tomorrow, not as a coach for today, and if everything hits, then we'll roll it into tomorrow, which is, I think, the way that it's been for the last couple of years. And if they go back to a short term, and they are willing, and not only necessarily just the short term, but rather we're going to pick players without even the input of the head coach. Clearly, you are not part of the long-term plan if it's not in place prior to, hey, we're thinking this guy and that guy. What do you think might fit better? Hey, we're thinking Bronny James. Do you like that idea or not? Do you think it may work or not? That if you are not a part of that process at all, then we're right back to where we started.
Well, I mean, also, think about this draft. The Lakers have the 17th pick. There is, I think, a decent amount of expectation that they will try to package it for a player that is more ready to contribute now.
Okay.
But especially when you take into account the new CBA and how difficult it can be to build teams at a certain apron or whatever, it could make a lot of sense to find a young player that is cost-controlled for the next 3 or 4 years. Like, that is a justifiable decision.
Sure.
But if you're going to be selecting at 17 to actually take a player that will be wearing a Laker uniform, it becomes really important that it aligns with what the coach is picturing for the team.
Of course it does.
Especially if you're looking for someone that will play this year.
Does one maybe make a little more sense than the other? Yeah, but just let's pull back, right? Take a step back from it. I would like the coach involved in the draft process,
yes.
Whether it's packaging the pick to go get a more, NBA ready guy right now, or and especially if we're talking about multiple picks that are down the line. Okay, what does that mean for my future? Right. That we're just going to be constantly chasing the present. It matters a great deal. Can you? Sure. Does it guarantee failure? No, but I do think it's a very clear signal that we are back in a very different type of mode than we were with Dan Hurley earlier in the week.
I'll put it the simplest way possible. If someone asked you, would you prefer that your team have a coach in place when you do the draft or not have a coach in place when you do the draft? I would really love to hear the argument for I would prefer my team not have a coach in place. There's no pro.
I'm trying to think of an answer
what is
to
the
that.
Pro argument
I'm trying,
I
Andy.
I don't want a coach in place for the draft and for free agency.
I'm being snarky when I say this, okay? But this is an extreme response to that. What difference does it make? LeBron's coaching the team anyway.
And he's the GM anyway. He's going to pick the roster anyway.
That's the answer, right?
That's a terrible answer.
I understand it is,
No,
but the answer is he's making the decision anyway. I mean, you gotta blow the whistle during the scrimmage, during practice, but when it comes down to what are we doing, he's going to decide anyway. Hey, which players are we getting? And again, not that he's just steamrolling everybody every day, but his presence is very, very large.
If that is the thought process, A, it signals that this team is in a lot of trouble. But B, it's just a terrible. That's a terrible justification.
Do you have Father's Day plans?
Likely just going to be doing a lot of chilling. I think they're going to do a little bit of grilling.
Oh, nice. You cooking for the fam, or are they cooking for you?
I would be down for doing the cooking. My wife is very much saying she wants to do it herself.
Does your wife listen to the show?
No.
Okay, so you can be. Is she a good cook?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no. Like, you know how the plus ones for this show has been very much in demand.
Yes.
I don't even.
You're good.
I don't even have to ask my wife, "Do you want to go?"
Okay.
No.
All right. Because not everybody is, and she's a good cook, so she could put something together that you would enjoy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think we might be doing a little bit of carnitas.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have one of those copper pots that they cook it in?
I was about to ask.
Not specifically the copper pot, but we've got apparatus that would be appropriate.
Okay. What do you got going for Father's Day, Jorge?
Well, I was telling him I have a text thread with my soccer teammates, my buddies, and we all want to go play in the morning. We're going to have a 10 a.m. game.
Are most of them dads?
Yeah. Well, we're 40.
Yeah.
So, we're all playing soccer, and then after that, Brenda's sister arrives tonight from Chicago. So we have them. So we're going to spend Saturday with them, and then Sunday I'll probably go with my dad's.
What about soccer, coolers, taco guy, hang out? Seems like a good day.
Yeah, it does to me.
I also saw a tweet from Porky that he took the weekend off and he's going to go to Disneyland.
Nice.
So, if you have any cool Father's Day plans, any cooking advice, grilling advice you want to ask the guys, send it in on Twitter.
Father's Day is, as a father, not to celebrate your father, right? Like I always like to tell my dad how much he means to me and all those things, check in and all that. But as the receiver of these things, especially when your kids are younger, like most of ours are, it's more of just of a, you guys want to go get something to eat?
Yeah.
Like there's not much fanfare beyond that, and you end up paying for it. And you end up cooking it. That's just kind of the way it goes.
I don't mind cooking. Like for
Neither
me, that's
do
an
I.
enjoyable day anyway. Real quick from Sam Lee on Twitter, he's hitting up you and I. Cuba Gooding Jr.'s lack of size is a factor in Jerry Maguire for the GM's resistance to giving him a big contract despite his high production. So they actually worked in the height into the story.
Show me the money.
I get it. If he were 5'10", then that is a good plot point. That is a good piece of character development. There are no outside of Tutu Atwell. There are no 5'7" receivers.
Rod Tidwell is the exception that proves the rule.
No. It's not as bad as Tim Robbins as a major league pitching prospect.
Well, he looked
but
like he couldn't throw a ball.
It looked like he'd never seen a ball.
Like,
hey, what is this white thing with the red lines on it?
What's the laces
what
for?
What do I do with this?
Yeah, I mean, the difference
do
is...
I eat it?
the difference is, at least with Cuba Gooding Jr., you never saw him doing anything athletic.
And that helps. What's the movie with Matt Damon and Will Smith? Legend of Bagger Vance. Clearly, no one had put a golf club in Matt Damon's hand before they did the primary, principal photography.
Right.
It's like, okay, hit this. What?
That's
come on, man.
I love the movie, but Back to the Future, it's very clear Michael J. Fox has never ridden a skateboard in his life. He looks so uncomfortable.
Same exact thing. It's the same exact thing of you just find some or shoot it or stunt cast it or stunt man it or whatever. We could do it a little bit differently. Hot and Cold is coming up next. It's Trav and Slee. Andy is in for Slee on 710 ESPN. Nothing but sports on TV this weekend, right? We're going to have the NBA Finals tonight. There's all sorts of Major League Baseball. The U.S. Open is taking place right now. College World Series. You've got the WNBA is in the middle of their season, which is basically code for you can do whatever you want at Prize Picks. You can put different sports together. You know what Prize Picks is. You put it on your phone, and then you pick 2 to 6 athletes, and you decide whether or not they're going to hit more or less on their statistical projections, right? Caitlin Clark is the buzz of everything. More or less on her point projection, more or less on her assist projection, and you can win big money. You can turn $10 into $1,000. And if you use the promo code 710, they're going to match your first deposit up to $100. You put in 25, they put in 25. You put in 50, they put in 50, all the way up to $100. So put the Prize Picks app on your phone, pick more, pick less, and start having a great time, a greater time watching all your sports. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Next Gen, the official AC heat and plumbing company of SoCal sports fans.
You're as cold as ice.
Call 833-3-NEXTGEN, NEXGEN, or visit nextgenairandplumbing.com. Time for our feature we do 3 days a week at 12:30 p.m. Who's hot? Who's cold? Thanks to Next Gen. Boy, time for Who's Hot? Who's Cold? Take it away, Producer M.
Oh, thank you, Christopher. That was a little bit different than my radio Tinder, but we are going to do our own feature this time. We're going to do hot and cold here.
Okay.
So what's hot is Dragon Math. Stay with me. So House of the Dragon returns this Sunday. And House of the Dragon is the prequel series to Game of Thrones. It happens roughly 175 years before Game of Thrones.
It's an oddly specific amount of years.
They actually tell you, in the opening title card, this is basically the generations before Daenerys. Anyway.
Okay, but why not 200?
Because that's not how the history worked.
175 is very specific.
I guess it's the amount of generations.
Okay.
I don't know.
I speak as an authority because I've literally never seen one single second of it, but that seems odd to me. Go ahead. Sorry.
The reason Dragon Math is important is because the Dance of the Dragons is about to begin, where the green team and the black team are going to go against each other. It's the Hightowers versus the Targaryens, and it all started off at the end of last season. The reason Dragon Math matters is because the Hightowers have the LeBron James of dragons. This has been said by Ryan Condal. Ryan Condal, the showrunner of House of the Dragons, called Vhagar the LeBron James of dragons. He says
pretty cool,
she
actually.
makes the whole team better. Vhagar is a big threat. So if you have Vhagar on your team, you got a chance. Championships are your goal if you have Vhagar on your team. And who has Vhagar on their team? Aemond and that family has it. So even though the Rhaenyra's family, the Targaryens, have 13 dragons available, they have Vhagar.
Look, you lost me on all the team names and dragons available and all this stuff, but I'm just focused in on anytime you are the blank of this, that's either an incredible compliment or the ultimate insult. There's no in between. If you are the LeBron James of something, it means that you're the best of something. If you're the O.J. Simpson of something, that means something very different, right? Like it's like there is nowhere. Well, that just means you're. I guess if you said no, it's the best and the worst.
I have another basketball comp. So, just so people listening can understand what I'm trying to explain to you. So, Vhagar is LeBron James. He is older. Vhagar's a she. Vhagar is older. She's already been through a lot of battles. She fought a war before, so she's had her chips already. So, this is her late in life
battle scars,
battles that are coming up. But the other team is the Boston Celtics. Got a lot of homegrown talent. Everyone was drafted by them, basically. But they did make a couple acquisitions later down the line. Vhagar
did they win most of their battles before the league was integrated?
Yes. Honestly, yes. The Targaryens did do that before, Vhagar also was a late stage acquisition. It was a last stop. It's the last stop for Vhagar is with
Did
Aemond.
Vhagar want to indulge in an entertainment career late in his
He liked King's Landing a lot. King's Landing was better for his family and his career.
Get to pick her coach and do you have to draft her son?
Does she tweet cryptically, but we know exactly what it means?
Yeah, she tends to she's very cryptic because at the end of the last season, she pops up out of the background, and you're like, oh, Vhagar's here. It's kind of like in the NBA Finals, and you forget that LeBron James is there, but then he tweets for a second, and that's why he's there.
10 or so years ago when Vhagar joined this team, did it do a big celebration and said, I'm going to take my talents?
Honestly, yes.
Nice.
It was at a funeral for Laena, and Vhagar was acquired by Aemond at that time in a kind of a big grand statement. Then Aemond lost his eye as a result.
Does Vhagar get criticized for not doing more, despite doing more than almost everyone else?
Does Vhagar have
yes, I can see it.
Has anyone ever questioned whether or not Vhagar has the clutch gene?
Vhagar, and no, everyone knows Vhagar's got it. Vhagar has the size, has the power, has everything.
Is Vhagar polarizing in that no matter what happens, half the people are going to dislike her no matter what?
100%, yes. So that is our Dragon Map
segment.
segment.
Skip Bayless used to criticize Vhagar no matter what she did.
Is Vhagar enough to win you a championship? All right, so it's cold.
Not one.
Is Vhagar's window closed?
It's closing. It's closing. Doesn't have the right coach necessarily. Aemond is
clearly
so.
You still have to give her a max cap.
But you gotta still. You're better off with her than without her.
Yeah. So what's cold is Will Ferrell as your dad. So Will Ferrell, we love him. He's one of the best comedians that has ever done it. And a photo was circulating where it's his son's prom day. So his son's dressed up super nice, ready to go to prom, and Will decided to dress up in medieval garb to greet the lucky lady who is taking...
Like this Robin Hood kind of situation?
It's like more like a court jester, but without the makeup. But it's like this person says, "Here comes the queen," like that person. So yes, what's cold is Will Ferrell as dad at prom.
That is okay. As a father, one of the great pleasures is when you get to mildly embarrass your children in front of their peer group. But you don't want to make it to where they're resentful about it, but more eye-rolly about it. Same thing if your dad is Will Ferrell. I don't know the kid's name, but if the kid is like, Dad, seriously? Or is it awesome because Will Ferrell is your dad and he dressed up like the court jester?
The photo does not look like he was having a great time with his dad dressed up like that. I feel like it's just because it's your dad. If it's your dad, anything he does is embarrassing, and you're like, oh, come on.
But isn't that what's cool about it? At the end of the day, we know him as Will Ferrell, but to him, that's just my dad. Like, that's what I find.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I mean, I don't care how cool you are. Like, think of whoever you consider the coolest person who have walked the earth. If that person happens to be a parent, they're just mom or dad to their kids. Like, the cool factor disappears if that's your parent.
Fernando. Like, teach me that every day. Show me the screwball.
I mean, like, I guarantee you, Keith Richards' kids did not think he was cool. They thought he was dad.
I thought you wanted to talk about your Jell-O shots, Em.
Oh, okay. Well, it's all so cold. Oh, gosh. Travis, you didn't have to bring it up.
It's on the board.
But UVA, so every year at the College World Series, they have a challenge from Rocco's, which is an establishment, a bar.
It's literally a bar directly behind the ballpark where they play the games.
Right.
Like it's if you finish your game and you start walking to Rocco's, if it took you more than 2 minutes to get there, you went the wrong way.
Right. So UVA and UNC are the first two games, first game of the College World Series, and so Rocco's has a challenge for every team that is at the College World Series to see who can get the most Jell-O shots. Not necessarily take the most Jell-O shots, but purchase the most Jell-O shots. And so right now, Virginia is just in second to last place. With 88 Jell-O shots. Florida is in last place with 77, but North Carolina is kicking their butt with 284.
That Florida's in last is a surprise because typically when you get your party schools that show up at places like this, they go deep. The one and only time that UC Santa Barbara has participated in the College World Series in Omaha, we took care of business, Andy. We demolished the Rocco's competition that year. And it was, I remember being in, and this was 2015 or 16, so roughly 10 years ago. And so I was in my early 40s at this point, and we're in the bar with all of my former teammates and all the parents and everything of the kids that were on the team right now. And I remember the bartender saying, yeah, this is like, we've never seen anything like this. Like, we've seen guys go deep, but there was only a very small group of actual Santa Barbara fans in Omaha, Nebraska at the time. It's because I've said this before, Santa Barbara is not an athletic school. It's not filled. We don't go to the Final Four. We don't go to bowl games. We very rarely show up on a national scale in athletics. And there were a couple hundred of us there. We took care of business. That's all I'm saying.
Just got a funny tweet where I talk about Vagar, the LeBron James of Dragon. Lagar. And we were talking about all the different things this dragon has done, like LeBron. Francis and Glendale just tweeted us, did LeBron James of Dragons only read the first page of Game of Thrones? That's funny.
Vagar probably would only read the first page, yeah.
Hot and Cold is brought to you by NextGen, the official AC heat and plumbing company of SoCal sports fans. Call 833-3-NEXTGen. That's 833-3-NEXGEN, or visit nextgenairandplumbing.com. The Dump Supercross Talk coming up next.
One sports radio show in LA.
Game of Games.
Game of Games time. Take it away, Mace.
Whoa.
Hey, guys.
Are you going to try to do a Mason impression here, Em?
I can't do a Mason impression.
You're playing Game of Games? Is that why you called me in here?
Yes, I called you in here to witness me doing Game of Games better than you can do Game of Games.
Oh, this is...
That's why I win Producer of the Year.
I'm with Ireland here. This is absolute nonsense. Game of Games belongs to Mason and Ireland. I'm still going to play.
You know you hate it so much you're going to play.
Yeah,
you guys own questions?
This is a Mason Ireland only thing. I'm standing up for my guys.
This is just you learning on the job, Greg, how to be better at your job.
There you go.
No better way than on the job.
Let's see.
If Michael Funchess' campaign to win a Mandy was the worst possible version, and it was.
Wasn't it like, I'm here?
I'm here. Then this is the best campaign
and also only
to
here
win a
because
Mandy.
I was doing my civic duty and doing jury duty.
Yes, this campaign of here are the features that I do every day. I'm going to do what you do, but better than you. That's what she's doing.
All right, so we got Travis, Greg, Andy, and Jorge here to play our game. It's my game today, and my game's going to be pop culture fathers. We have a tiebreaker if we need it. All right, guys?
All right.
All right, so...
look at the look on Mason's face.
Mace, you should be mad.
You want to play, Mace?
You should be mad.
Come on in and play Game of Games. Let's go. You should do it. Greg said it. Greg said he likes it.
No, I did not. I said I'm still going to play, but I don't like it.
Greg came in and said,
my protest. You're stealing Game of Games?
Yeah.
We've stolen everything today.
They did Wheel of Questions earlier.
So you guys
here,
didn't do it nearly as well as we did.
Emily
Absolutely
is
not.
making a powerful argument as to why she should be producer of the year. So she's basically taken your guys' content and she's putting her spin, and Sedano in caps, and put her spin on it.
So why does that make her better? She's just stealing other people's ideas.
No, but she's executing them at a supreme level.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Let's see this time.
Let's see.
All right. First question we got for you guys. In the movie Mamma Mia.
Oh, I'm sorry. Or is this multiple choice? We're going around the room?
It's multiple choice.
Okay.
We're going to go around the room. I'm going to start with you, Trav, okay?
Okay.
In the movie Mamma Mia, Sophie tries to find out who her father is. So she invites 3 men to her that her mom slept with to her wedding to see who might be the father. Who are the 3 fathers played by? Is it Liam Neeson, Bruce Willis, and Kevin Costner? Is it Alan Rickman, Kiefer Sutherland, and Hugh Grant? Or is it Colin Firth, Stellan Skarsgård, and Pierce Brosnan? Travis?
The last option.
All right. Mace?
Yeah, it's the last one.
All right.
Pierce
Greg?
Brosnan cannot sing.
The last one sounds good to me. Never saw the movie.
Andy?
What they said.
And Jorge.
With the crowd. See.
Everybody's mom loves Mamma Mia.
You guys are all correct. All right. So Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr. hit back-to-back home runs on September 14th, 1990. Who was their opponent? Was it A, California Angels, B, Boston Red Sox, or C, the Texas Rangers? Mason?
I'll go California Angels.
All right. Greg?
California Angels.
Okay. And Andy?
Rangers.
Okay. Travis?
Angels.
All right. And Jorge?
Angels.
All right. Everybody but Andy got that one correct.
Yeah. It's because you said California Angels.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that was the giveaway.
And everything bad happens to the Angels.
Right. True.
Yeah, that was a giveaway.
Okay. One of the most iconic lines in all of cinema history. In the movie Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader says what to Luke Skywalker at the end of the movie? Does he say A, Luke, I am your father? Does he say B, it's me, your father? Does he say C, no, I am your father? Greg, Factor Cap. Oh, sorry, not Factor Cap. What's your answer?
It's no, I am your father.
Okay, Andy?
I so wish it was the second one.
By the way, I like by the way,
but
I'm
it's
your father.
Luke, I am your father.
Okay, Andy? I'm sorry, Travis?
Give me the choices again.
Is it Luke, I am your father? It's me, your father. No, I am your father.
No, I am your father.
Okay, Jorge?
D, yo soy tu padre. I'll go with C.
Okay, and Mace?
So it's either A or C. I'm going to go A.
No,
Okay.
It
is C.
Yeah.
No, I am your father. It's one of the
He
most
never says
misquoted
Luke. Yes, exactly. It's not Luke,
lines
I
of
am
all
your
time.
father. Yeah.
I was just so caught up with how amusing the second one was.
Yeah.
It's me, your father.
It's me, Mario.
I've got a secret.
It's a little bit more Mamma Mia. That was.
Yo, Luke.
Hey, yo, Luke.
anybody ever told you or not, but
I wonder how I got here. In the 1991 movie Father of the Bride, who plays the precocious younger brother? Is it A, Haley Joel Osment? Is it B, Kieran Culkin? Or is it C, Jonathan Lipnicki? Andy?
Kieran
what's the answer?
Culkin.
Kieran Culkin? Okay. Travis?
Culkin.
Okay. And Mace?
Kieran Culkin.
Okay. Greg?
Culkin.
Okay. Jorge?
Culkin.
All right. You guys are all correct.
By
It
the way,
is
okay,
Kieran Culkin.
I would like to point out this game is
way too easy.
so easy. It's not a good game of games. This is not how you do
So then
games.
you vote for Funchess.
Yeah. By the way, I haven't missed one yet. I don't think you have.
I missed
either.
one.
Oh, you
I
did
missed
miss
one.
one.
Yeah.
The only one who's
tied.
missed
We're
any
tied.
is
No,
Andy.
Luke, I am your
No,
father.
Mace missed one too.
Yes.
Hey, what's the score? Just so we can know.
All right. So Travis has 4. Greg also has 4. Andy has 2. Jorge has 4. And Mace has 3. All right. So next one is Daddy Yankee is a famous Puerto Rican singer. His most streamed song on Spotify is A, Despacito, B, Lo que pasó, pasó, or C, Gasolina. All right. Let's start with Jorge.
Gasolina.
All right. Let's start with Travis.
I literally have no idea.
Yeah, I know this one too.
Yeah. Despacito.
Mace.
He didn't do Despacito. I think it's Gasolina.
What was the second one?
Lo que pasó, pasó.
I'll go with Gasolina.
Okay, and then Andy.
Gasolina.
It is correct. Gasolina is correct, and he did do Despacito.
Oh, he
Just a
did
different
do
version.
it?
Yeah.
Who was he with?
With Bieber.
Bieber, right.
Yeah.
All right. Who were the first father-child duo to both win Oscars for acting? All right. So both father-child duo first ones. Was it Jon Voight and Angelina Jolie? Was it Judy Garland and Liza Minnelli? Or was it Jane and Henry Fonda? Travis, what's your answer?
The Fondas, and give me the other two.
So it's Jon Voight and Angelina Jolie.
Okay.
Judy Garland and Liza Minnelli. Or Jane and Henry Fonda.
Ooh, it's close. It's close.
I'm going to go with Garland and Minnelli.
Okay. Mace?
I'm going to go with Voight and Jolie.
Really?
Okay, Greg?
I'm going to be different. I'm going to say the Fondas.
That might be right. Yeah,
Okay,
that might be
Andy?
the
I'm
Fondas.
pretty positive it's the Fondas.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, and
Oh, the
Jorge.
Fondas.
It is the Fondas.
Yeah.
What did Jane Fonda win an
As soon as
Oscar for?
She won for Clute, and she
has
won
2.
for Coming Home, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, and then Henry actually won it later on, and for On Golden Pond, that he also starred in it with Jane Fonda. And Judy and Liza Minnelli did not. Judy never won an Oscar. She only got an honorary Oscar.
Okay.
Trick
That's the
question.
trick
Yeah,
question.
trick question.
I
All
like
right.
Dorothy.
Beyonce performed Daddy's Lessons, the 2016 CMAs. With what country girl group? Was it the Chicks, formerly the Dixie Chicks? Was it the Highwaywomen, or is it Pistol Annies? Mace, what's the answer?
I only know one. I'm going to guess the Chicks.
Okay, Greg.
The Pistol Annies.
Okay,
I've
Andy.
never heard of any of it.
Chicks.
Okay, and Travis.
What's the third option?
Pistol Annies.
And the Chicks, Pistol Annies, and who?
The Highwaywomen.
I'll take the Highwaywomen.
Okay, and Jorge.
Yeah, I'll go with B, whatever B was.
And it is the Chicks.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes, the Chicks. Famously, that's when Beyonce did not get arousing applause and should not feel welcome at the CMAs for Daddy's Lessons. All right, last one before the tiebreaker. What father and son duo has the most Pro Bowl selections? Okay? Most Pro Bowl selections. Is it Matthew and Jackie Slater? Is it Archie and Peyton Manning? Is it Ed and Christian McCaffrey? Mace?
Ooh.
That's good.
This is the last one?
This is the last one.
So whoever's leading has to go first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See,
yes.
you would
See,
know
this
that
is
if
where
you
I
knew
yeah,
how to
see,
play
I'm not
that,
very
you
good
knew
at
how to
that.
run the game. You
Yeah,
would
exactly.
do it the right way. And then we probably would have started a
Oh, this is like malpractice.
All right, Jorge, you're the first one then.
I'll go with A.
Okay.
Sure, I forgot the name, but go with A.
All right, Travis.
What are the McCaffreys, the Mannings, and what was it, the Slaters?
Slaters, yeah.
Peyton Manning made it every year. I wonder if it's like the Aaron brothers with home runs that Hank hit all of them but one, but they're the brother. I'm going to go the Mannings.
Okay, Mace.
I'm going to go the Mannings.
Okay, Greg.
Matthew Slater made like 19 of them. I'm going to go with the Slaters.
Andy.
I'm going Slaters as well.
All right, it is the Slaters. Jorge wins.
Jackie made quite a few.
Jackie
was in there a lot.
Always on it because he was on special teams every year.
Do you guys want my tiebreaker, even if we don't need it?
Yes. Fine.
So we're going to break the rules of tiebreakers. Jorge, what?
Music air quotes. Tiebreaker.
Swag.
Like the good old days. Like the good old days.
All right.
Swag system, baby.
How many touchdowns do the Mannings have altogether? Peyton, Eli, and Archie. Whoever gets the closest without getting over
Eli
wins.
and Archie. Oh, wow.
All right, let's start with Jorge because you won.
Jeez, I don't know.
Pick a number. Any number.
175.
175.
That's wrong.
Okay, Travis.
That is not correct.
I'm going to say 650.
Okay, Mason.
I'm going to say 633.
Okay, Greg.
I'm going much higher. I'm going to go 782.
Okay, and Andy.
706.
Okay, and Greg is the closest. It's actually 1,055.
Wow. Peyton had
between
like
all of them.
500.
Honestly, Peyton had 700. Or no, he had 557.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you call this a game of games? Like, was there any theme to it, or
was
was it
pop
just like
culture fathers.
random?
It's Father's Day on Sunday. It's pop
Father's
culture
Day.
fathers.
All right.
Come on,
Pay
listen.
attention. Pay attention.
Great. Sure.
Didn't know how to run it all. Jorge was always last. He should have been first.
Yeah, should have been first a couple of times.
No, I did have Jorge go first a
the
couple
leader
times.
with 3 left to go. There's certain things to do for a game of games.
you just
we can't copy it.
Protest
by every little detail.
But you just don't understand it. I think that's the point.
This is the Mandy Award-winning game of games.
Right.
Next
How many
week.
times have you guys won?
This is the year game of games.
Oh, so you haven't won. Got it.
This is it.
Understood.
How many times has Factor Cap won?
0. I honestly don't even know if it's been nominated. Or
How many
we have
times has
asked for it.
Factor Cap won yet?
Oh,
there you go.
this is the year for
Because it's going to overtake Radio Tinder because it's totally different.
I think
it's
Emily.
a completely
At least game of games is different.
Em, I thought
Game
you
of
did a
Games
great
is
job.
the different one.
Despite the fact that I fired you in your dreams.
Yeah, thank you.
I thought that was well done.
Did you fired her?
I demoted
What did
her in
Dan
her
Wake?
dream.
Was Dan Wakey there?
He was. That apparently I decided that he was the new producer of the Travis
Dan
Lee
Wakey?
show.
Dan
Yes.
Wakey. That's
and
awesome.
Emily was relegated to a different role.
Oh, that's funny.
No more Laker beat writing.
Dan Wakey, producer of the year.
You know what we should do after we call Dan Wakey? Little Supercross
Can
talk.
we do it? We're not copying anybody?
Yeah.
ESPN AM 710 Los Angeles. KRDC AM 1110 Pasadena, Los Angeles.
K256CX 99.1 FM Pasadena, Los Angeles.
It's the greatest segment in LA sports radio history.
Oh my God. When the shows come together for magic on the radio.
It will only grow stronger. Supercross Talk.
Are we ready for Mason and Ireland to join Travis and Slee?
Supercross Talk begins.
Supercross Talk presented by In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out. That's what a hamburger is all about.
It's time for Supercross Talk.
I'm going to need you to woo a little longer while I
Yeah.
continue to organize my
Yeah,
stuff.
no, he looked at me and said, what are we going to talk about? And I said, the
stuff. So what did you make of the stuff today?
I thought the stuff was interesting.
I thought so too.
A lot of it's stolen stuff.
Repurposed.
Okay, let me just
John inspired us today.
Let me get this out of the way. So there was a gigantic station conference call this morning.
Yes.
And apparently I am the only person that was not on it. And,
Yeah.
And I immediately, Bergman called me and reamed me, and I was like, yeah, I get it. It's totally my fault. I'm the
Where
only
were
guy
you?
that could oversleep for a 9 o'clock
I was
conference
going to
call.
say, I reject
Only
that.
guy that can oversleep for a 9 o'clock conference call.
John, you are a non-sleeper. Fair to say insomniac? Is that a step too far?
Very
okay.
understatement
Okay.
to say that.
So you are not going to oversleep. I'm a
Right.
morning person. I was not going to oversleep. But 9 o'clock in the morning is the middle of
there's a little
first part of the day.
There's a little back, and I'm not making excuses. Should have been on the friggin' call. So I was up a lot of the night coughing, and so I popped a gummy at like 2 a.m. to help me to get through that, and then I slept through 9 o'clock.
Glass of water wasn't an option?
A glass of water would have been an option, but I felt like a gummy would be more fun and make me sleepier. But I heard it was a really good call. I heard an award-winning call. I heard there are already
the call's up for a mandate.
The Zoom Foundation is going to nominate this call for Call of the Year.
John, you did the quickest, tightest U-turn I've ever seen out of the studio when you came in here with the Game of Games.
I always do if they're 4 people. If they're 4 people, you don't need me. So if you haven't noticed that about me, I'm out immediately.
Get Greg back in here so I can leave.
Well, yeah, because you're like me. Yeah. I do that anytime I walk in and there's 4 people here. I go back and work on other stuff.
I don't know where you went, but did you get a chance to hear Emily's edition of Game of Games?
I'm now going to vote. I voted for Emily for Producer of the Year. Today's the last day I can vote, right?
Yes.
I'm going to vote twice for every other person.
Yeah, I'm done with that. Seriously,
I'm now off of Emily. She was my favorite producer until but you know what? What I'm realizing is the stuff. Nobody really cares about anything.
No. Nobody cares about
seriously.
anything.
It's kind of the motto
I moved
of my
4
existence.
things to make this meeting this morning. Mason just blew it off.
Yeah, I
did. Is there a penalty involved in
None.
this?
That's my point.
But the fact
Mason, you know what I'm proud of you of?
What?
That you got up and coughed and that you showed up. Because normally if you cough, you're out.
Oh, yeah, no, I did show. I was definitely going to show up. I the coughing fit last night. But no,
what
that's not true that nobody cares about it. I'm the only one that apparently didn't, quote-unquote, care.
So you know who I'm jealous of? Him.
Yeah.
Now, next time, I swear I'm the one that's out.
I understand it was
You want to bet?
I understand. I think
bet?
he'll sit out any Zoom
You will
call.
do it on principle?
Yeah, well, because I can. I didn't think I was allowed to. Now I know I am.
Well, I wasn't allowed to.
Yeah, you did.
But if there's no
I caught hell today.
But if
from
there's
Morales, from Morales and Bergman. Bergman, seriously, when I picked up the phone, Bergman was like, "You are the only person that didn't."
Well, Greg, next time there'll be 2 of us.
Are there financial penalties?
There are no penalties.
That's my point.
I don't think it was a fine.
But that's what I'm saying. Having somebody go, you really should have been there. Yeah, you're right. I should have. We done
Yeah,
here?
all I said was,
if that's the penalty,
effed it up.
If that's the penalty.
Yeah.
See, I always, what you're talking about, John?
Yeah.
This idea of, well, if nothing's going to happen, then I just won't do it. And then it comes time to do it, and there's something in my DNA that will not allow me to just not do the thing that I was asked to do.
Let me say, the stuff that was on the call is really cool and really important.
That's why.
By the way,
can
we have a moment of honesty? Nothing that couldn't have been in an email. Am I right?
It's a long email.
Yeah. But then we all don't have to drop what we're doing. Mason's the only one who plays this smart.
It was
I'm
10 minutes.
That is not.
It was 10 minutes.
That's the first time I've ever missed one of these things.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
but
I'm jealous that you got to miss it before me.
Right.
You're
See,
salty because you got beat to the punch.
I missed it by accident. He's going to miss it deliberately.
Yeah, yours is. But see, you are a responsible individual. You're Steve Mason.
I went. What can I do except I effed up and I'm sorry.
No, Trav. 9 times out of 10, Mace gets this stuff right. He uses all of his sick days, uses all of his vacation days. I never use either. I'm going to start. I'm going to start.
I don't know why you.
I say that at the beginning of every year. I'm going to use all my sick days.
And I never do it. And he consistently does it.
If you don't, and I'm burning off days now because the contract year's up on June the 30th, so I'm like, I got to get these days in. I don't understand anybody that doesn't use their vacation days.
I agree.
By the way,
this is the last day I'm working in June. I agree.
But listen, we cannot carry them over. That's the problem. If we could carry them over, it'd be totally different.
But here's my question for you, and I don't know if this is just how I'm wired or just how you're wired, or just a decision that we can all make that you've made and that I haven't.
Yeah.
Do you have guilt?
A little.
As an emotion, do you experience guilt?
I mean, obviously I'm guilty about missing this call. I feel guilty about that.
He's deeply hurt that he
I feel guilty.
I can see it on your face.
He's forlorn that he missed this call.
Forlorn Mace is right here in front of us.
But in terms of it, I make absolutely no apology about the vacation.
No, I understand that. But the reason I ask is,
are you allowed to carry your days over?
I don't believe that I am.
Yeah.
But I leave them on the table every year.
They're like challenges
I do too.
NBA.
Travis, and you know what, Trav? We're being stupid.
You are 100%.
In this case, he's 100% right.
1,000%.
But the difference is, and I can't explain to you why, because in my general day-to-day life, I am not somebody that is consumed by guilt. I'm pretty good with the decisions I make, and I get some right, get some wrong, but they are what they are.
Right.
For whatever reason, when I'm not at work, I feel guilty. And I can't explain why. That it's that thing of
Trav, I got a solution. You should fill in for me today.
No,
then
thank-
you would not feel guilty.
No, but I don't feel guilty because
No, he
I did
already
my
did his
job.
show, yeah.
I don't
his
feel
show.
I don't
You
feel
should do-
guilty for not doing your
No,
job.
you should do my job,
no,
too.
That's not happening. Do you have guilt? Work guilt?
Yes.
So do
Yes.
I.
Well, here's part of it. For me, my wife works from home. Like her
So she wants you out of the house.
Well, no, it's not. It's not even that.
It's like Julie Thompson. Get out.
Get out. Julie definitely wants Michael out of the house. But like my wife's company, most of them work remote. So if I'm not working, it's not a question of just I'm not working. It's her watching me not working. It's like I'm not working with an audience who is working.
But it's not like you're sitting at home eating bonbons.
No, but even when I'm sick and I need to not be at work, like
Now,
because we
what's
do what we
interesting-
do. When I lose my voice, and it happens every year, I feel
lost my
terrible.
voice this year.
I feel terrible about
But when
it.
when I'm sick, I actually do feel guilty. I feel like I should be here. And when I'm sick, so I do miss that. But vacation days, I can't believe anybody would leave vacation days on the table unless you're one of the people that can save them up, and then when your job's over, you
disappear
can cash
for
them
a
all
month
out.
and a half.
Yeah.
Am I correct? You've actually gone pretty out of your way in your contract negotiations to get specificities
That's
with your
correct.
vacation days.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it is a fact that I took less money to get an extra vacation.
I can't. I want to.
It's actually more important to me.
We're talking about guilt.
Yeah.
Now I'm experiencing jealousy
Oh,
because
yeah.
I
No,
want.
you're gotten to where I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yes,
wait a minute.
yeah.
Would you take a haircut for an extra week vacation? You're
No.
not even using the vacation
No,
you've
no,
got.
No, not in a million years.
Yeah.
Because on the vacation, I would be thinking about A, I have less money than I used to have, and B, I need to get back to work. I would not be able to enjoy it.
By the way, from what I understand, I'm going to get another haircut and another week of vacation 1 year from now.
Is that your goal?
Yes. As a matter of fact, it is.
Then you've checked all the boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
John, I haven't watched any of the U.S. Open. Am I missing anything so far?
Well, it's pretty amazing. Mason doesn't follow golf, but because I pick golfers, he picks golfers.
But you did really well.
But so did you. It's just out of that picture is you have McIlroy, right?
Yeah, I do have McIlroy.
Do you have Cantlay?
No.
UCLA Bruin.
I have Finau.
I have Oberg and DeChambeau. So
I have Oberg in my pool.
I have 1 and 3. Oberg looks really good. He's in first place by a shot.
I never heard of him till this tournament.
He's 20. He's a 22-year-old Swede, and he is. I mean, he looks like a machine. He looks like Drago out there. I mean, he's emotionless. He's
Swedish.
I am here to destroy. It's like
Is
crazy.
Tiger going to miss the cut? I'm looking at him. He's behind a bush right now. That's not good.
Well, he's right on the cut line. The cut line they say is either going to be +3 or +4. I think
Scheffler's going to miss it,
+4.
right?
Yeah, Scheffler's been awful.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He's like +7.
He buried his driver apparently today.
He went in the inside, and now he's a changed
He did,
man.
right.
He'll never be the same ever again. He had to do a hard time in the Louisville clink, and now he's back.
It's a bad lie for him right now.
Yeah. Well, have you played Pinehurst, John?
Yes.
Is it as good as it looks?
It's
Is it as hard as it looks?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And here's the thing about Pinehurst. Picture the green being like this tabletop, like that we're sitting around a round table. And then, unless you hit the ball and stop it, which most people can't do, the ball will hit and roll off. Like, watch this ball right here. This ball's going to roll off the green, and there it goes down the hill. See it?
Oh!
And it'll just keep going. That's every
So if you don't
green
stick it,
at
it's rolling
Pinehurst.
away.
So every green's like this, Trav. It's the greens here.
Like a turtle shell?
Right.
Yeah.
And it like the top of a batting helmet.
Oh, jeez.
So you
when does that go from, hey, I'm playing at Pinehurst, this is awesome, I'm having a great trip, a vacation, Mace, to,
hey,
this
I'm
isn't
going on
any
vacation.
fun at all?
I liked it because I knew they played majors there,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be able to watch majors like this and say I did it. But none of us scored well. Nobody broke.
So I was watching
85.
I was watching SportsCenter today, and it brought back the clearest friggin' memory. There was a story about Payne Stewart, who apparently won. Did he win the U.S. Open at Pinehurst?
There is a statue of him there that everybody takes a picture of. I've got a picture with me and Worthy and Tim and Patrick, my Sunday guys.
Yeah, they did a story on the statue.
And everybody takes a picture there, and I've got it up in my house in Idaho.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
do you remember 1999 when that happened? I was living in New York, and that plane was going, and nobody knew what was going on.
What they think happened was they lost oxygen in the cabin, and it killed the pilot and Payne
And
Stewart.
then the autopilot kept going.
And then it
until
ran into
out
a
of
mountain, right?
It ran out of fuel, and where it ran out of fuel ultimately was in place. Fortunately, or because they were trying to figure out if it was full, where's it going to run out? And
do we have to shoot it down?
There were fighter jets out there and stuff.
If they were going to be in the city or something like that.
Remember that
you were in New York. Jim and I were on the air, as the whole thing was unfolding, and just it was.
Yeah, it's surreal
day.
So watch this. See, Travi tried to chip it up the hill, and he didn't chip it hard enough. Watch, he'll actually have to back up. This will roll past.
Is that DJ? Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody does this. It's so there's going to be like Oberg is the lead and he's 5 under. This might be one of those tournaments where 1 or 2 people are under par and everybody else is over.
That's the whole goal of the U.S. Open, right?
It's like, remember that one year Tiger was 15 under and second place was even?
Yeah, that was at Pebble Beach.
Right.
Yeah, look, I've done my work.
This is harder than Pebble Beach.
I don't need to feel guilty. I can go home and enjoy the weekend.
Oh, Trav, you don't want to work another. Hey, it's a combo plate. Only 2 hours. Come on.
Oh, that's right.
You can play Game of Games again.
Yeah, we're doing Game of Games.
Apparently, a much better way to do it.
We'll do Ask Trav. It's Friday.
We do that. We do that 3 days a week. We do not need to do it. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Enjoy your Sunday. See you on Monday. Supercross Talk brought to you by.